What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another day, another week, another episode of The Daily Grind. I'm your host, 30NSG, and on today's show, we're going to be talking about Nintendo Switch 2, closer to Xbox Series S than PlayStation 4 in terms of raw computing power. We're going to talk about Sony talks about how to combat the threat of Nintendo and the Switch 2. We're going to talk about Dune Awakening. Players aren't convinced the game's endgame is viable for a set of players. And then we're also going to talk about PlayStation has its head in the sand about its live service future. All these stories and more. If you guys like it, hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. We do this Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning till noon Eastern. We just cover a couple stories, give you my thoughts and opinions, and I get your thoughts and opinions in the live chat. What's going on, chat? Let me see who's all here. Big Mo, Eclipse, Roadkill, Kylo, feels good, man. Good morning, good morning. Anybody else that comes in? Good morning. I know it's a Monday after Father's Day. Happy belated Father's Day for anybody that is a father out there. Appreciate you. You're doing. Well, some of you aren't. You're doing your best, but a lot of you are doing your best, man. Doing your best. It's hard to be a dad. It's nonstop. All right. I want to start off this weekend. I played Dune Awakening through my MetaQuest 2 headset. I was on a small little vacation this weekend, and I played through Steam Link through my headset, and it was actually really good. I actually didn't screw up in any way, shape, or form, but then I forgot to shut the game down, right? And then when I logged back in about 2 days later, it said I had 90 hours in the game. I had 50 hours. I had like 51 hours in the game, and now I have like 94 hours in the game. So there's like 40 hours worth of non-gaming hours logged into that. But I'm still enjoying it very much. I'm in like mid game, I would say, but my level is like end game. There's people in end game that are a lot lower level than me. I'm doing like every nook and cranny, leveling up slowly but surely. Couple of glitches. I built my first buggy last night, okay? And when I built it in my house, I couldn't get it out of the house because you can't store it in a gun, right? So then I had to open a wall up, and when I drove outside the wall, for some strange reason, it stuck to the side of the wall like Spider-Man, and I couldn't get it unstuck. And then when I deleted the walls, okay, it stuck to the mountainside and then just stayed on the mountainside. So then I had to deconstruct my entire buggy that I created and then rebuild it again. I was like, what is happening? But I always find the bugs. So I've been playing a little bit of that. I haven't made a laser yet. I still need a couple more resources to make a laser on top of the buggy. But once I get the buggy, we'll be doing a lot more resource grind. What's going on, Water Bear? Eclipse says, I swear I told people that the deep desert was all about clans. Maybe I misheard that or something. It's not all about clans, but you could go out there, but you're gonna be in problems if you're a solo player. Waterbear says, yeah, I stopped playing for a minute until they fix the server stability. It seems like when more people log in, when I started getting latency issues, I've been getting a little bit of latency, rubber banding, late night. So it's interesting. Yeah, that's why my buggies are outside under my base. Oh, is that why? Was yours getting stuck to the walls as well, Eclipse? I was like, what is happening? So it doesn't get hurt by the storm? Because I was so confused. I was like, why? Unless you have the laser doors, you can't have it in your base. I don't have the laser doors yet. So I just made an opening. I made an opening and then just parked it in with like no door. Not if it's under shelter. Okay. I was wondering, I was like, why does he ever bring that thing inside? Got it. All right. Let's start off with the first story, which is about Dune Awakening. Okay, it says the gamer says, not sure if I can keep going. Dune Awakening players aren't convinced that the game's end game is viable for one set of players. Okay, Dune Awakening is enjoying a stellar start of life. Players are relishing living in the best survival lives in Dune's treacherous world, and smooth launch, enticing tens of thousands of players, and built bases, farm resources, grief the fellow Duners, and also even figure out ways to glitch out the sandworm and ride for free. Okay. While much of the reception around the game is positive, some players have begun to reach Dune Awakening's endgame content, and if they're playing alone, they're already considering giving up. We knew this. I knew this. Going into the entire game 8, 9, 10 months ago when we first started looking at this game, I was like, I don't know about the end game, solo player. We had to hear more about it, and then I was like, oh, cool. I can do end game stuff. I can get stuff if I want to. But they said leading up to this game's launch, they said that you probably need a group and you need to join a faction if you want to do end game stuff. Okay. So it says Dune Awakening solo players aren't having fun time with the end game content, but they are. But why are they even there? Okay. Well, they're there because they can still exist, but the deep desert by yourself, even if it's a 2-on-1, you're gonna die. These are problems that happen in most PvP events, but this is why I was sold on the PvE aspect of it. And if I don't want to go to the deep desert, okay, because I'm getting it wrecked or whatnot, I can always go to the major towns, the major NPC villages or whatever, and buy stuff off of the auction house or off the what do you call it, the store, okay? Where basically if I want gear tier 5 or tier 6 type of stuff, you're just gonna have to grind your ass, make a lot of money, and then buy that gear. But you're still gonna have problems even if you're maxed out at tier 6 gear and you're in the deep desert. You're gonna die because they're well organized machines that are working together out in the deep desert, because you can't be really a solo player in these things. Now, there are solo things that you can do out there, but the deep desert itself is all PvP. Okay? It says, Dune Awakening's endgame has many strings to its bow. There's also a massive PvP area, faction quest to complete, and fight of resources develop, create, and upgrade endgame equipment, like the max tier Ornithopter. Hey, look at me. Said it correctly. If you're part of the guild, or at least have a bunch of players you regularly jump in with, it's great. Solo players, on the other hand, doesn't seem to think so. Just a few days ago, we said, quote, I always knew that Dune Awakening was going to be a struggle for solo players. Yes. Anybody with a brain, 2 ears, and 2 eyes. Well, you could, I guess, have 1 ear and 1 eye. Anybody that has eyes and ears and a brain would know that this is going to happen. With the cost of upgrading highly sought-after ornithopters, for example, extremely high. Now with the game having been out for a few days, it's been out for almost 2 weeks for the early adopters and 1 week for the regular people that bought it standard. For example, extremely high. Now with the game having been out for a few days, it also seems that solo players are finding out for themselves. Over the last 24 hours or so, Dune Awakening subreddit has been awash with discussions about whether the game is solo player friendly. 100% is solo player friendly. 100%. There are ways that you can go in the deep desert, not be seen, right? Travel at night. Don't let people see you. You know what I mean? Like, there are ways to do stuff. Okay, on a thread, started at, it said, laminating the grind, saying that the end game is not for solo players, adding it takes so long to farm spice as a solo player, and that the last tier items ask for so much of it. It's impossible to try to get a career ornithopter or carrier ornithopter, so that you can also carry impossible sand crawler. Okay. While many players share a similar opinion, offered slightly more balanced thought. He says, quote, I feel like it's fine that there are complex operations that take multiple people to carry out in the end game. But I would also hope there would also be meaningful gameplay loops for solo players, which they did say they were going to put more into the game after the fact. But there are ways to get spice. You're just not going to get enough spice like they did, with a big group of people. Okay. High risk, high reward. Okay. It says complaints about Dune Awakening Endgame were plentiful, but many players came to the Endgame's defense. He says, quote, I mean, it wasn't ever sold as an Endgame solo play. That's right. Never sold as that. Also, what are you trying to do? Speedrun it? If you're looking to get through the Endgame content in the first week, then maybe it's a bit unrealistic, said Odd Sunny 7447. Okay. Most MMO players are not able to compete most endgame activities solo. So while it does suck, it makes sense. It says realistically, it's probably too early to make a call on whether solo-friendly in Dune Awakening will be, especially given the fact that some players are anticipating the grind to the end game to take a very long time. But not to stop people from complaining either way. So if you're like me, 100% solo player, haven't played with anybody else, I am level, I want to say like 70, 76, 77. Okay. I'm going to every nook and cranny. I'm doing every solo activity that there is as far as story content goes. And I haven't come across any issues where something is like too hard for me, right? I'm slowly leveling up, going to the tiers that I can hit. I have 47 hours, 49, maybe 50. I'm sorry, I have 52 hours. 52 hours in the game, okay? And I'm not in endgame yet. I'm not even close. I literally just built my buggy, but again, everyone's different. There was someone at like level 35 that already has a buggy and an ornithopter and whatever else, all depending on what you do and where you go inside the world. Again, it was never sold as a solo player experience in the end game. Never. I said that I thought in the very beginning, I was like, this sounds like it's going to be very PvP heavy. But then they said, no, you can play the single player game, the entire game, solo. And I went, oh, sold me. Sold me on that because it reminds me of Star Wars SWTOR, right? Star Wars The Old Republic, where you're taking your quest lines and stuff like that and you're living in the world. I like that, solo play. If you want to dip your toes into the PvP, there are little PvP areas, okay? And then getting you ready for what is in the deep desert, which is everything is, PvP. You're going to get your ass pushed in regardless, no matter what game it is, in the end game content. You're either leveling up correctly or you're going to learn the lesson. You're going to die by the worm. You're going to die by an ornithopter. You're going to die by just a group of people, a Zerg group going through the deep desert. This has never changed. This has always been the thing in games like this. So, is this bad? I think they could add some more PvE content, but then you're like, well, then why would people go to the PvP? People go to the PvP because they want to go to the PvP. People that are PvE players, they should have a way where they can get the resources, but it's going to be harder to get regardless, which you could do right now by going to the ecosystem, the store, where other people are getting gear and throwing it up there for money, right? I have 300K right now, and I don't know what to do with it as of right now. So, I don't know. My thoughts is I think it's fine the way it is right now. Should they make adjustments? Sure. I don't think they should do, far left, far right and change it dramatically. I think they should just take their time, slowly dial it back in to see what PvP doing. Because, again, the game's only come out a week ago. Tuesday. Not even a full week yet. Okay? When the reset happened on Tuesday, that was the standard edition that came out. And before that was 5 days early access. So people have been in the game for about 12 days right now. And there's a lot of people in the end game. But nowhere, because you'll see people making videos online, right? On YouTube, if you're watching, they're like, oh, I'm in the ship. I haven't had a PvP experience yet. I haven't had a PvP experience yet. Right? A lot of people are not really attacking anybody yet. They're all kind of like grinding to the end game, and they all attack each other in like the deep desert. A lot of people are at the ships. Yeah, you can get killed and stuff like that, but that's not happening right now. As the player base starts to level up and starts to get out there, and then they start going, my problem with this game is that this whole map is gigantic, and yet once majority of the population is in the deep desert in the end game, 3/4 of this map are kind of useless. And if everybody can do, because there's already videos out there telling you the best farming methods, obviously, just like any other game. But if everybody can do everything in this game, then nobody is special. meaning there's no reason for an economy. There's no reason to put this certain gun on the market if I could just go to this location and it has a 1 out of 5 chance of dropping, right? So it's like, do I go to this area and do it myself, or do I just go buy it? It's about your time. But if everybody's can do that, then there's no special thing if everyone can get everything. But these are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. Please make sure to share, like, subscribe. Let me know what you think about Dune Awakening. Are you enjoying it? Or you think that the solo player is not very good in the end? Are you in the end game? And are you doing PvP? Let me know in the comment section down below. Let me know in the live chat. Please make sure you share, like, subscribe. And if you like what I do here, check out some of our videos. Thanks for watching. What's going on, Hilly? Let's see. Waterbear says, laugh out loud. They said the end game isn't solo friendly the entire time. Yeah, I don't know why people are like super like, what? They said the truth. Sarge says, where have I heard this all before? Hilly, thank you very much for continuing your membership. Your first membership. Appreciate that. Come on, PS5 blows. Oh, yeah, I heard the spice is used for space travel. Clip says, to me, it just sounds like you're complaining that you can't do the raid by yourself. What's the difference? Right, it's the exact same. Like, there's things in the game that you can't do by yourself. It's always been like this. That's like complaining in, like, Marvel Rivals. They're like, man, I can't get to diamond status. Well, yeah, if you're not playing with people, you're never going to get there because you're playing against bots the entire time. You got to team up with people and work together. And I think the way the game is structured, honestly, it's a really nice balance for solo players, teaching you and giving you all the things as you're going along the way. And by the time you get to endgame, you're going to be playing 50, 60, 80 hours minimum, if not hundreds of hours. And by that time, you'll be like, you know what? I think I'm going to join a group. You could stay solo, but you still got hundreds of hours inside the game. What's going on, Warrior? Yeah, PS5, you could meet someone out in the world, and you could give them a friend request and then join a group or just ask for to join the party. 100%. You don't have to play by yourself the entire time. You can meet random people, invite them to your party, and play up to 4 people. Go do a dungeon. Go do some things. Hey, I need some spice. Do you want to help me? And they're like, yeah, I need spice too. Great. Like, this is a microphone. You could talk to people in the game and make friends. Right? It's crazy to me that some people are just like, it's not soloable. Yeah, we get that. That's why they made the game co-op. Otherwise, they would have just made it a solo playing game. Hilly says, I'm interested in Dune, but will likely wait 6 months if the game keeps a good player base. Doesn't need to be a super high, and it was also good feedback at the stage. I might jump in. They have a roadmap that they talked about what they're bringing in. They're bringing in more stuff. They're doing balancing and stuff. Like, we knew this was going to be a live service game. Yeah, Hilly, friends? Yeah, friends? What are friends? Well, technically, Hilly, they don't have to be friends. They could just be acquaintances that you talk to in the game that are doing the exact same thing as you. Be like, hey, I need to mine some aluminum. And they're like, oh, me too. Hey, you want to go together? Sure. Because if you work together, it'll be faster. I mean, right now, for me to get anything done, I got to travel. Actually, can I find... Hold on, let me see if I can find a map just to show you. Okay. I want the whole map. Arrakis. Okay. Okay, I want to shut all of this off. How do I hide all? Okay. So let me bring this up. Okay. Let me bring this up. This is... You start down here, right? You start over here, and you end up moving up to this area. Okay, this is the second tier. I'm like in my 70 level, and I have a place here, and I have a place up here. Okay, because up here, I need to drive across up to this point to grab the stuff that I need, but then I got to travel all the way back down. Well, to get from here to there, you could go straight across, okay, but there's a high risk of that you're going to get eaten by the worm, right? You can't touch any of this stuff over here. This is quicksand in this whole region right here. This is all quicksand with the lines going through. So then I got to go, right? Can I draw on here? No. Right? So I got to drive from here, okay, all the way down here, all the way across here, cut across here, drive across here, go up this direction, all the way up here to get to this point on a bike, on a sand bike, okay? You could cut across here and here, right? But you're risking it. You're risking it because you're touching these drum areas. These red areas activate the worm faster. Okay, they activate the worm faster. So you got to cut between these. Okay, you got to cut between these. You always feel like this sense of like either the ship is going to, or I'm sorry, the worm is going to get you, or if you're in this area now, I'm cutting across, and now that's PvP. Once I touch this area, it's like PvP area. So now I can get attacked as I cut across. Well, I don't want that, right? I can cut across here, but these are very little islands. This is a pretty big gap from here to here, okay? So going around is probably the easiest way to get around, okay? This is a big area right here you can cut across, but there's no drum sand there, so you can make it across. But then I got to go all the way up here, grab my stuff, and then I got to drive all the way back to here. Well, that takes time, okay? And then the other thing I need is up in this cavern. This whole trench area here has got other materials that I need. Well, I got to cut across here. I got to cut across here. Then I got to go all the way up here. I got to farm all of this, right? And it takes time because you're on your sand bike. I just got my buggy. So now my buggy, I can take it across the same path, and I can farm a crap ton more stuff, okay? And then if you have an ornithopter, it's super simple, right? You just fly across, have your bike on you, right? Drop your bike down once you got out of the ornithopter, and then you just store the stuff in the thing, but you have to drive it back, though, right? But it makes a lot more sense. Or you could bring your stuff and then bring it back to the ornithopter, put the bike away, get in your ornithopter, and then fly again. Much, much simpler, right? But that look at this. I haven't even touched. I've been over here. I've been like a small trail to get across here. But for the most part, I've only touched this section here, this section, and this section. Okay? Still haven't seen a whole lot of stuff. What can I do for you, son? I know. That's why you're here. No, you can take the bike. You have a gun, and you can store the bike in your gun, and then you can get in the ornithopter. No, you can't. You can't have two vehicles. You can store one and then fly in the other one, but once you have stuff in it, you can't. You have to drive it. Sorry, my son's asking questions. Right, so there's a lot here. This whole area on here, okay, I don't know if this is PvP. I know there's areas in here that's PvP, but this is all radiation. This whole section here is radiation, or majority of this is radiation. Right, so majority of my 52 hours has been in this area, and this area. Just these three areas for the majority of my playthrough. What's going on, Robert Jones? I just need someone to watch my 6 while I look for spice. Yeah, that's basically it, right? But think about this, Hilly. Wouldn't it be cool if you're playing a game like this and you hire people, right? Like, hey, buddy, can you? I'll give you a couple. I'll split the materials with you. I'll pay you in the currency. Make like an actual, a society within the place. This is why I think people, I kind of wish a game would come across a way where, let's say I'm a miner, okay, and you're a crafter. I would mine the materials. I would sell the materials on the black market or whatever. People would buy those materials. I would make money. They would get their materials. Then they bring their materials to somebody else, and those people make the gear for them. Okay? Very few people or very few game developers have ever made a game where they're so demanding on other people because it needs to work as a community. And they're like, well, if no one plays our game, how is the economy going to work? Okay? But what you need is an actual community. Where if somebody, this is why I loved Galaxies. Galaxies, if you were a doctor, you were a doctor, you were leveling up your doctor skills. If you were a bounty hunter, you're a bounty hunter. You could resource up to a certain point, but then you would have to commit to that section to become a higher tier person. You'd be more efficient in that category. So that means if I wanted to become a better doctor, I would have to do more medical stuff. But I would have to get the medical supplies. But I couldn't get the medical supplies because I was depending on other people getting the medical supplies to sell to me so I could buy them to use them to level up my skill. Okay? This is why Galaxies was so far ahead of its time, and it got fucked up because everyone wanted to be a Jedi. Right? That is what needs to happen. If I'm a weaponsmith, people would bring me materials, and then I would create their weapons for them. But they would have to find me, right? Maybe you're in a bar in one of the cities. And the reason you're there is because you want to get buffs. And the only place you can get buffs is by someone that's a bartender that's making the drinks. Because he went up the bartender skill where he's making actual drinks and potions or whatever you want to call it in whatever game you want to play. Okay? And then so you would go to the cities, you would go to the bars, there'd be people playing music like in Galaxies. While you're sitting there, they're giving you a buff. Maybe they give you a 20-minute buff because you hear music and you're happy. Okay. Now while you're out farming stuff, you have a buff on you based on what potion you drank, what music you listened to. Now the person that has the music, now you're tipping them, right? Because they gave you a buff, so they might make some money off of you. The person that gave you the drink, you're gonna pay for that currency, so they can make stuff and they can buy more ingredients. It's amazing how an actual economy would work, right? But that's not what's happening here. In this game, everybody can do everything. Everybody knows where all the stuff is. Everybody knows where all the weapons are. Everybody can farm all the materials. Everyone can put their stuff on the market. Everybody's a master of everything. Or I'm sorry, everybody knows everything and a master of none. Can a buggy outrun the worm? Or are you dead? It's as fast as the bike, but you have to have the boosters and stuff. Oh yeah, this section over here. Yeah, you need someone. You need to fly, because from driving from here, like if you zoom in, there ain't nothing in between. To drive from here to there, you're dead. Right? Either between the radiation or the worm. You need to fly over to these sections and then do it. Because look, there's a lot of points of interest. Let me bring the points of interest out here. Okay. Right? There's things everywhere. A lot of resources, a lot of camps, a lot of different things that you can go out and get. It says, just my take. I love the idea of having specialties. You need to be able to do literally anything, but you shouldn't be able to do everything. MMOs need that, right? There should be that in the very beginning. So let me go back to this. Right? So let's say in this section, everybody can get the basic materials. Iron, okay? Maybe you get the stone, the iron, and maybe something else, right? Everybody can do the basic stuff. Once you get to this section, and then you have to move to the next section, or you have to start you have to start mastering something, right? So if I need to build a buggy, I need to have someone on the server that's literally just mining the stuff for the buggy, and then you have to approach them and go, hey, I would like some iron. Great. Here's some money. Here's some iron, right? Or aluminum. But that's not how these games are set up. Everything's set up where you have to depend on yourself and everyone knows everything. So there's no community. Your own little hobbit. Sarge says, remember, bro, medics in Galaxies were the only ones making the better heals. You could buy med packs from NPCs, but they were not as good. That's right. So the best people were the people that were upping their skills and their mastery and selling you the best stuff. So you would heal your little bandages or whatever, and they would give you like, I don't know, a quarter of your health. But if you got a med pack from an actual medic who was making those med packs, they would give you full health with a buff. Hilly says, that's a mistake then? That's a mistake then. You shouldn't be able to farm or mine all the highest level. Then you need to buy and / trade barter. Right. But that's the mistake. Everyone can do everything. This isn't an MMO, though. They dropped the genre a few months ago. It doesn't need to be an MMO, right? Water, to do this. It still needs an economy. You still have people in the world where if you want to get certain materials, even if it wasn't an MMO, you would have to buy small quantities from the NPCs that give you the materials, unless you go up a skill tree, right? So let's say you could do it this way, but then it would be time consuming. Let's say I wanted to be a resource management guy. I could go up that skill tree, and then once I have all the resources, destroy that skill tree, and then work my way up a different skill tree to start making better weapons, better vehicles. They said it's a survival game. Some of the MMO elements that were also left in. So I guess they were also kind of messed up. Kyle says, what game is this? I'm just listening, and I'm lost. We're talking about Dune Awakenings, Kylo, but I'm saying it needs to have, there's no economy, but it has MMO type of stuff in the game, right? So there's a auction house or a store or a player shop, basically, where you can like put anything up there, weapons, armor, all that stuff. But nobody's buying that stuff because I can just go get the same stuff that they got, right? So there's really no economy in the game. There's really no purpose to do everything. Everybody in the game can do everything. So they want it to be MMO-ish, but they dropped the MMO, but yet it's sort of like Fallout 76 where there's, 60 people per server and there's stuff going on. And the article was talking about how the endgame is not friendly for solo, which is fine, okay? But now we're talking about the way this game is structured. If you're by yourself the entire time, you don't need anything from anybody else. So you're not making a community. So you might as well just make it a single-player game at that point. Warbear says they kept some of the MMO aspects in the game, and it's kind of threw off everything a bit. They're also going to have to change some of the stuff over time for sure. Can everyone do everything all the time? I watched some video that they said that something about the spicing every 48 hours. Oh, specting every 48 hours. Yeah, so you can make your I'm level 73, whatever it is, and I basically have every skill point in every tree. Okay? I can't master the stuff, but I can dabble in the stuff. Most of the stuff is combat or movement and stuff like that. There's nothing in the trees that help you take an advantage except for like resource faster or get more quantity out of the resources. You can still do everything. Everyone can still do everything. Now, if you want to start getting double trained, like advanced training, you could go up 3 times in each of the things. Okay? So when you go up 3 times, you have to find the trainer again, do some quests, level up, and now I can do, so where maybe you're doing 25%, I'm doing 77%. I don't know what the number. I'm just giving you a number, right? So if you're doing 25% with 1 star, and then someone does it with 2 stars is 40%, and then with the 3 stars, you're doing like 70%. That's different. But you can still dabble in all the stuff. There is no like massive thing where you're getting super advantages as far as the stuff that you need to maintain or whatnot. I mean, I get what you're saying. Specific specialties would work really a little better. Right now, though, it's like everyone is a jack of all trades. Right. And that's why there's no economy. There's people putting stuff in the store. People are making money in the stores because I guess just to get to the cities, first of all, you have to have $2,500 every time you go back. Well, people in early game, mid game, are not going to spend $2,500 every time they have to go to the major cities to go to the store so they can purchase stuff. Not going to happen, right? The store right now is labeled as a end game thing because unless you have an ornithopter where you can fly to the city yourself, you have to pay $2,500 every time, or 2,500 Solaris every time you go there to go look at the shop. Why would I do that? One solution could be if you don't see many crafters on the server, they give you an ability to change servers. You could change servers right now, Sarge. So let's say Water Bear's on a different server and Eclipse on a different server. I can join their server, play with them randomly. I can go buy stuff, sell stuff, resource stuff, and then go back to my server. Eclipse says, yeah, you eventually hit where you don't get any more skill points, so you can't be the best at everything. Sure, but it's still not in the categories that they pick. Most of it, like the swordsman, that's all combat focused, which is going towards PvP. The surveyor, which is, I forget what the class is called, where you can like fly up in the air, right? You get more surveying area. Like, who's going to pick that over swordsman in the end game? Nobody, because everyone that's in the end game at that point, okay, doesn't have an advantage. You just have to go for the spice, right? So like right now, every tier going up in the game is like you have to get iron. Once you get past the iron stage, then you have to get steel. Once you get past steel, it's aluminum. Once you get past aluminum, it's I forget what the next one is, right? After that, then it's spice, right? That's it. You're just going up the thing. So once you get to end game, once you get to the deep desert, you're not looking for iron anymore. You're not looking for that minimal stuff anymore. You're going to have so much of that stuff by the time you get to the deep desert that all the stuff that you need is out of the higher tier stuff. And everybody can get that stuff. The only thing that they can't get is the spices because they have to work with people. But you can get spices because there's little explosions that happen and you can run out in the field and grab it. You're just not going to get as much. Eclipse says, yeah, I can't wait for that one clan to be introduced where you can also supposed to make them tie. I would also, how are they going to change everything? We'll see what happens. Like right now, basically the one that's set, I think, was basically if you die in the deep desert, you lose everything, which is huge. It's like the worm killing you. Okay? So if someone kills you in the deep desert, they're taking all your stuff, everything. So basically what you're doing is sort of like an extraction, okay? Like an extraction game. So you want to have multiple pieces of gear. You want to have multiple vehicles, because if you take your vehicle into the deep desert and you happen to lose everything that week because of the perk that's happening, when you die, you go back to your base, you better have that same piece of armor, okay? Because basically, like an extraction, you're like, I'm going to take my best gear, my best weapon. I'm going to go in and see what I can extract. But a lot of people are just going there just to murder people. So a lot of people are like, I'm not going to go there and lose my best gear. Especially solo. So you like basically go in with the weakest material. Hopefully that no one sees you. Grab your stuff and then get out. It's an extraction. I'm not there yet. I'm just watching other people in the end game, and I'm like, yeah, this is impossible. Not impossible. Highly improbable as a solo player. It's going to take you 10 times longer to do anything in the, unless you're like the 1%, right? That's like super well at the game. Your build is just amazing, and you're just a top-tier player. It's going to take you 10 times longer than anybody else. If they have to pivot away from the MMO, that's fine. Well, for me, every player needs to have all combat stuff to max, and then they also have a job role, and they can also have them linked to quest lines. That would be interesting. Ron says, I bought Mind's Eye, but refunded it at the 1 hour and 55 minute mark. So that was like, what, halfway through the first cutscene? Hater says, Endgame can also be a land strat building. Yes, but at the same time, it's like playing Helldivers, right? Where basically every time you kill something in Helldivers, you complete a mission, it goes up like 0.0%. That's basically what you're doing, where you feel like you're putting towards it, and you're getting resources and stuff out of it, but you're really doing nothing in the grand scheme of things. It takes you much, much larger when you work with people that you can get higher tier stuff faster than if you're by yourself just doing the couple of land rad stuff. The lands rad has to be adjusted. Has to be adjusted. Especially for the people that are mid game. It takes so long to get around, which is fine. I'm not complaining about that. But those people are not going to be doing a lot of the stuff in the lands rad because they don't have an ornithopter. Once you have the ornithopter, you can get around so much faster. And you can, literally the world opens up to you. Okay, because if you have an ornithopter and you're at the top of the map or the bottom of the map, you could be at the bottom of the map, fly outside the map, go into this other screen, fly around, enter the top, and now you're at the top of the map instead of flying across the map. It's so much easier. Kyle says, I don't want to come off as mean, but how do you people that regularly come here actually buy Mind's Eye in the first place? Haven't we talked about it enough to prior that we know it was also a scam? I think a lot of people are just trolling, Kylo. I don't think Ron bought it. Like, I'm addicted to Dune. I like it. I really do. I think the, like, for instance, I needed a couple of materials, and I'm like, oh, I'll go to one of the science centers. Go to the science center, grab the materials I need, go back. There's always something. That's why I like survival games. It's like, what am I doing today? Well, I want to build my buggy today. What do I need? Well, I need 150 steel ingots. I need, I forget what the other stuff is called. It was the bowls of, I forget what the fuck they were called. Anyway, I need this materials. I know where to go get it, right? I like that part of what it is. Robert Jones says 2-hour refund policy. Yeah, Ron didn't buy it. Stop it. Ron sits at home making mid-journey pictures, throws them up on Discord, comes in here and trolls all the time. That's why we like Ron. Ron didn't buy Mind's Eye. He bought Concord. Everyone knows this. I will not tolerate any Mind's Eye slander in this chat. This is my game of the year. I mean, you're allowed to like shitty things, Kraken. You're allowed to like shitty things. If he ain't trolling us, he's trolling the system. Yeah, there's a couple people that bought it. I think Eric Jones, not Robert Jones. Eric Jones bought it, I think. And I think Nate bought it as well. There's a couple of you probably bought it, don't want to admit it. All right. Going from Dune Awakening to... Let's go to Nintendo Switch here. This, I think the title's funny, right? Because Nintendo Switch 2 is closer to the Xbox Series S than the PlayStation 4 in terms of raw computing power. I remember everybody saying that the Xbox Series S is a piece of shit. It's a potato. It's holding gaming back. All of these things. Okay? And then Nintendo Switch 2 comes out, and everyone's like, it's the greatest system ever created. Sold 3.5 million copies in the first 4 days. It's amazing. It's beautiful. It's got third-party game, right? they're more than happy to pay $80 for video games now on a shittier system. When just 3 months ago they're like, I ain't buying that for the Xbox Series S. The computing power that is garbage. But now Nintendo Switch 2 is closer to the Xbox Series S than the PlayStation 4 because they were saying it's PlayStation 4. They're like, no, it's better than the PlayStation 4. It's as good as the S. Wondering just how powerful the Nintendo Switch 2 in terms of raw computing power, one developer said it was closer to the Xbox Series S than the PlayStation 4. In an interview with WCC F Tech, producer Temco, Wild Hearts S said that while the difficulty of generalizing about the power of the Switch 2 and the Series S is a decent comparison, there's a lot of characteristics when it comes to computing power and the difficulty of generalizing. But I think we could also be thought as a closer to the Series S. That's not a good comparison, though. Can we just say it's not a good comparison? Feels Good says Series S makes developers think twice about putting their games on the X, but they're more than happy to put it on a lower tier Nintendo Switch 2. I mean, sounds amazing. Sounds amazing. Okay. Switch 2 tech specs include custom NVIDIA GPU, dedicated RTS cores, and Tensor cores. Ahead of the console launch, NVIDIA said that the GPU enables 10 times the graphic performance of the Nintendo Switch, with the AI upscaling and the DLSS and ray tracing. The Xbox Series S is the less powerful alternative to the Xbox Series X, which launched alongside the console in 2020 in direct competition with the PlayStation 5, and this November turns 5 years old. So the Nintendo Switch 1, which is 7 to 8 years old, then they make a Nintendo Switch 2, which is 5 years less powerful than the Series S. I just want to put that out there. Okay. So if the Switch 2 is similar in power of the S, that suggests it will run most third-party games. Microsoft mandates that any game that launches on the Xbox Series X also launches on the Series S. So any developer working on the game for the current gen Xbox must ensure that the S is capable of running it. Well, that means if the third-party developers are making games for the Switch and it can run on the Switch 2, that means it should run on the Xbox Series S, no problem, correct? Right? If they can make it work for the Switch 2, there should be no problem, so we should have no developers complaining that, well, why should we make it for the Xbox Series S power? Because you're making it for the Nintendo Switch 2, which is less powerful than the Xbox Series S. It says, it's also worth noting that Microsoft and Activision are still working on bringing Call of Duty to Switch. It recently announced Black Ops 7 isn't confirmed for Switch 2 yet, but it also be known it's planned for release on the last generation of consoles, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. That should also mean it will run fine on the Switch 2 based on their comments. Indeed, the Switch 2 released with a number of third-party games to flesh out on its launch lineup, including Cyberpunk, CD Projekt Red's demanding Cyberpunk 2077, where the Switch lacked many third-party multi-platform games. Perhaps the Switch 2 will thrive. Switch 2 is off to a great start, selling 3.5 million units in just 4 days. That's enough to make it the fastest-selling Nintendo hardware ever. So there you go. I just think it's funny, right? Because some people look at it and say, well, nobody wants to make games for the S because it's a potato. But now they're like, oh, man, we're jumping at the bit to make games for the Nintendo Switch 2. Well, the power is less than the Series S. So if we're all going to make a statement saying that the Xbox Series S is holding back development, then you have to say in the same statement that the Nintendo Switch 2 is holding back, right? They're holding back the devs. I don't know. I'm not the one calling this out. You guys have said this, right? Those of you out on the internet said that this is holding us back, but now this game comes out, or this system comes out, and it's less powerful than this. But because it's Nintendo, it's okay, right? Wait, it's claimed to be it claimed will be the Switch 2 increase possible sales, so now may as well make it for the S. D Money says BC isn't handheld. Oh, because it's handheld. Money to be had, hence worth the development money at time. Well, that's great, D Money. So we'll keep the same energy level. So when the ROG Ally comes out, that means that should be better than the Nintendo Switch 2, right? Because it's more powerful, it's mobile, you can play things everywhere. Might be a little bit more expensive, even for the lower level one, but there be no reason then for the Switch, except for Nintendo games, which is the first party games. You would nobody would buy a third party version of the game on the Nintendo Switch. Nintendo Switch 2 then. Ray says the Switch 2 is targeted at a lower resolution and 12 gigabytes of RAM, but yeah, everything is possible. I just think it's funny, right? Because everyone says that this system sucked because of whatever reason, and then this system's out lower tier, and everyone's like, it's amazing. D-May says, I'm not saying I agree. I'm just saying that most likely the logic, and yes, same goes for the ROG Ally / Xbox handheld. All I want is the same energy level across the board. Not from you, D-Money, but what I'm saying is in people in general, when they come out and say that this system is holding gaming back, and yet the brand new system that comes out is less powerful than the system that's been out for 5 years, then you can't say that this system's holding back anymore. That's all I'm saying. Right? And I agree. I agree that the Xbox Series S was the lowest common denominator, as I say. You're only good as your weakest link. Okay? And the pairing and stuff like that was hurting Xbox, and now everything's an Xbox. So really, I understand the devs don't want to make a game for the S because they can make it for everything, but you're also making it for a television set through the cloud. You're making it for a mobile phone, right? And what Phil Spencer came out and said was, if it's running on the S, then it can run on a handheld. And that goes to say that Nintendo Switch 2 is a lower tier handheld, and everything that's running on the S can run on the actual Switch 2. D-Man says, my wife always tells me that I play devil's advocate, and I always tell her we're on the same side, always, but I'm also making other sides point, vocal to break down, and think about. I was told I never pick a side, D-Money, because when I was on Lono's podcast for years and years and years, everyone's like, I hate Mike because he doesn't pick a side. I play devil's advocate. I'm always telling from both sides to show people that you can't just be closed-minded and look at the stuff. It's exactly what I'm doing right now. Can you imagine playing what they want you for Switch 2 and you realize it's just the PlayStation 4 Pro, new coat of paint, and more expensive? That's right, exactly right, Roic. Feels Good says, sadly, there's a big list of games delayed on the Xbox because of the Series S. Sure. But there's reasons that it's delayed on the S. One, because of the power. One, because the Xbox is a lower selling console, just in general, right? So if you're a developer and you're making a game, why would you make it for the console right away? If one console's got 70 million units out there, the other one's got 30 million units out there, which one, as a business, Feels Good, would you make your product for first? If you only had the manpower to get it out the door, and you had to get out the door first, who are you getting it out to first? Are you getting out to the 70 million potential people that could buy it? Or are you getting it out to the 30 million people that could actually buy it? Obviously, you would get it out to the 70 million first. You're going to put it out to the biggest market possible first, and then work on your stuff afterwards, and then put it on the other console. James Thomas says PC. Yeah, we're talking about consoles, though. We're talking about consoles. Hence why Xbox, when they put stuff out, they're putting it out on Xbox and PC. But when PlayStation puts something out, they're only putting it on PlayStation. Ray says, if a game run on the S, it should also run on our phones. Those last 3-year phone chips became monsters. We had conversations about this as well, Ray, where I said you wouldn't buy a phone to play games, but now your phone can play games. Right? Very few people would buy a phone going, oh, I'm going to play my games on here. But now they can play games, and you would be like, oh, my God, I can play a game on my phone now. Z says, 30, pick a side, damn it. I'm so dumb to make up my own mind. I'm happy with my own decision. Oh, Z, sorry I didn't contact you when I was down south this week. I was running around for the two days that I was there. I'm going to come down for like a real quick trip in July. I'm going to be there for maybe 36 hours. So I'll let you know when I'm going down, and if you wanna meet up for lunch or something, we'll try to plan something. Why make billions when you can make millions? Right. Why? Yeah. We're gonna make a game, and we're gonna put it on just the Steam Deck that sold 3.5 million, 4 million units. Right. We're not gonna put it anywhere else. Be like, what? It only plays on the Steam Deck? Yeah, not Steam itself, just the Steam Deck. It's like, what? No, you would put it out as the most possible thing as possible. All right, we're gonna go with Xbox. 30 million units, only Xbox, not on Game Pass, not anywhere else. Just the consoles that are out there, physical discs only. Can't do it on the S. Only on the Xbox Series X's with discs. That's it. That's all we're making it for. Robert Jones says Switch 2 might start to hold things back. Switch 1 didn't. But that's my point, though, Jones. Right? If they're making it for the Xbox or for the Nintendo Switch 2, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, it's on the Switch 2," you're buying a worse version of that third-party game on the Switch 2, right? Hands down, the worst version possible on the Switch 2. Unless you're getting a Nintendo first-party game, and that's why you're getting a Switch 2. But why would you get it? Why would you get the shittier version of the thing? Especially the people that are like, the Nintendo or the Xbox S is holding gaming back, and then they buy a Nintendo Switch 2, and then buy that third-party game on the Switch 2, which is lower tier than the Xbox Series S. Thomas says, which topics have I missed so far? We talked about Dune Awakening, about people saying that it's a solo play, is not endgame. There's no endgame for solo players, and even though they never said solo players could do the endgame. And then we started going deeper into Dune Awakening and how they could make it better with the ecosystem and the economy and the skill trees and stuff like that. Now, story number 2 is the Switch 2 being as powerful as the S, just a little bit less. More powerful than the PlayStation 4, less powerful than the Series S. Ray says, Square Enix on Final Fantasy 16, only possible on the PlayStation 5. Also Square Enix. So here's Final Fantasy 16 on the Series S. Z says, working crazy. I forgot it was Dad's Day anyway. That's all right. Yeah, it was. I was down. It was like a cannonball run. What's going on, Travis? Travis says, wait, if they did, they wouldn't make money because there's nobody has an Xbox. But that's exactly right. If I'm an independent developer and I'm making even if I'm not an independent developer, I'm a big studio. Why would I make my game if I only had the resources to make a game come out on day one? I would pick the two biggest platforms, which would be PC, which would be PlayStation. You wouldn't make it for Xbox that has a lower tier stuff. You'd be like, we're going to put it on Xbox, but we're just not going to put it on Xbox right away. Feels Good says, Starfield got delayed at one point because of Series S. I don't think that's true. I mean, you might be right, but I don't remember a story saying that it was late because of the Series 2. I don't remember that, though. Thomas says, no, Starfield got delayed because it wasn't ready when Bethesda actually wanted to release it. Xbox didn't buy them. He wouldn't have got it in 2021, 2022. So by that mantra, right? What Feels Good said, Starfield got delayed because at one point because of Series S. Do we think that the Xbox Series S is the reason that Grand Theft Auto 6 is delayed? Because they can't get it running on the Series S? Not because the game's not ready? Switch 2 and the Series S can hold hands, hold the generation back together. Agreed, Jones. If people say that this is holding back, and that was my actual point. If people are saying the Series S is holding the industry back, then the Switch 2 is also doing the exact same thing. James Thomas says, in many big games for the downgrade to PlayStation 4, the Switch MK1, Hogwarts Legacy, and Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor. That's very true, James, right? Jedi Survivor, Hogwarts Legacy, all of them were delayed by like 1 year to be on the Switch. Jones says, hopefully the PlayStation 5 and the Series X won't get Switch 2 dumbed down games going forward. Hopefully not. Especially on PC for indie people, because they don't have to buy dev kits and all that to put on PC. Right. That's why most games always come out on PlayStation. I'm sorry, PC. On PC. Travis says, 30, I know you don't care that much, but it's good to see that Pitchford was just putting his foot in his mouth on pricing, but that's got to be a permanent taste of leather in his mouth. He just says shit, and honestly, he's done it again. He's done it again. It took me 5 years to play Borderlands 3. We played it, enjoyed it, but Borderlands 4, I can wait. All right, continuing with Nintendo and PlayStation. Krebsy says Switch 2 isn't holding industry back because it's not getting modern games releasing for it. What do you mean it's not getting modern games? It will be getting modern games when the new games come out, Krebsy. It's not getting them right now because it's still making up for the games that are now coming from the last 5 years getting on that platform. All right. Sony talks about how to combat the threat of Nintendo and the Switch 2. Just keep making the games, Sony. Just keep making the games. If you guys like what I do here, we do this Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning till noon Eastern. If you like it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. Do me a favor right now, guys. There's 31 of you guys in chat, and we have 11 likes. Can we get at least 30 likes? I'll give one of you a non-like. Okay? It's like, just hit that like button. It helps us out. Okay. Nintendo Switch 2 has proved that it'd be an incredible launch for Nintendo, which is also the system's breaking records globally. The company's competitors are all watching closely on how the system fares after launch, given the success of the original Nintendo Switch console. On such a company, if Sony were also to ask investors how to plan for combat to threat the Nintendo of PlayStation business, one question was especially with a question about how they transition youngsters who grow on Nintendo hardware. Well, I've talked about this in the past, right? We joke about it all the time, saying that when you're born, they hand you a Nintendo Switch at the hospital. They're like, oh, congratulations. Obviously, they don't. But the age range of Nintendo is from birth to death. The age range to PlayStation has dropped where younger kids are playing PlayStation because their families have bought the PlayStation and like dad has his console. Maybe an older brother has the console and the younger kid plays that console. But for the most part, I would say PlayStation's demographic is like 12, 13, right? And then up above. But for 12 years, right? Technically 8 years, like 3, 4 years old, you're playing Nintendo, right? You're playing Nintendo for those 8 years of your life in the beginning. And then you kind of switch above, right? Most people are not buying a PlayStation or an Xbox on their own until the kid has a job, right? And maybe spends his own money, okay? Or your family has disposable income and you have multiple systems, right? So PlayStation has to try to get that younger crowd, hence why they're doing like Astrobot and stuff like that. It says some investors are concerned that the improved specs of the Switch 2 and Nintendo's improved relationship with the third-party publishers will lead to tougher competition for PlayStation in the next few years. What do you think of those concerns? He says, we closely monitor overall gaming industry, including action of the other market participants. Additionally, the catalysts in the market are great for the industry as a whole, and as they invigorate the excitement and demand more product. It's so great to have people launching new things, okay? As I mentioned previously, We also have different strategy. PlayStation 5 is designed for immersive game experiences and includes the innovative DualSense controller featuring as well. We believe a PlayStation 5 level performance is required to achieve a great experience on the big screen, and it's also a way to provide a unique offering for players to creators in the current console generation. Publisher strategies are increasingly shifting towards being multi-platform, so more platforms can also run the same game, which is great from the creator's perspective. Amongst those platformers, other missions is that it also continue to be the best place to play and publish. As such, we've empowered our creators and leveraged our offerings and service to create amazing, unique experiences for players with also high engagement and great monetization opportunities. We have done this consistently, and industry and competitive dynamic have involved. That's some corporate speak, huh? PlayStation Studios is also a franchise that have special roles in the showcase and PlayStation experiences and also strengthen the player's relationship with us. It says some investors are also concerned that Nintendo's appeal to younger generation could lead to a market share decline for PlayStation. If those younger users choose not to graduate to PlayStation as they age, what is Sony's Interactive doing to increase the addressability of market amongst younger users? It's also overall mix of users. He says PlayStation brand is offering a representative of wide range of players over 3 decades now. A number of users engage our platform continuing to grow. By supporting such a large number of creators, we're also able to provide a largest range of content available, catering to demographics, geography, and play styles. He says, we believe that the constantly investing in players' relationships with the brand and our relationship with creators, it also ensures us we can also stay close to players' hearts throughout their lifetime. On the first-party content side, we're also reaching a greater range of audiences more directly, including younger players with our first-party lineup, in addition to franchises with also multiplayer generational fan base, such as Marvel Spider-Man. We also have a franchise to appeal to range or different. Marvel Spider-Man, though, is not the majority is not like 10 and under. Again, it's like a 12 to 13-year-old and above, right? Horizon, a good example. It's very popular with female players. Astrobot has also been a big hit with the children and adults alike. We continue to drive engagement for PlayStation's ecosystem and brand by bringing franchises to new formats, film, television, and anime. And anime is also particularly appealing to the key younger audience, so that's going to be very helpful to us. Which is trying to basically condition the kids right now, you know, when they start watching the Crunchyroll, right? Because they own that. And any other stuff, they can advertise PlayStation games to that younger crowd and build it up. Hence why they took Horizon Zero Dawn and made it into a Lego game and put that on the Switch and put that on other places, so the younger audience starts to see those characters and is like, oh, I know that character. Oh, there's another game. Because there's a lot of people out there that don't connect the two, right? Like, they don't know that there's a TV show, and the TV show is connected to the video game. You're like, oh, I didn't know there was a Resident Evil movie, and then there's a video game. I didn't know that. I thought it was just a movie, like stuff like that. So PlayStation's trying to beat Nintendo, but Nintendo's doing the exact same thing as PlayStation, right? Number one movie at the box office, or almost number one, was Mario. When Zelda comes out or Donkey Kong comes out, it's going to be a massive hit. Why? Because mass appeal to the younger audience. PlayStation, their audience, I'm sorry, okay, is 13, I would say, to like 30, right? 13 to 30. Nintendo is like 4 to 99, okay? We watched the video last week, the Broken NPC, right? She was talking about how she loves Nintendo, always loved Nintendo, grew up in Nintendo, the nostalgia, all the stuff from a 90s baby, okay? People remember Nintendo because Nintendo's in your heart first, okay? PlayStation's not getting there first. Nintendo's getting there first, right? They're planting those seeds and watering it over the years and years. PlayStation's like, you're in high school, you're in middle school, and all of a sudden your friends are playing games. What are you playing on? I'm playing on a PlayStation. Oh. It's like a status symbol. It's like an Apple, right? When you have an Apple computer and a laptop or an iPad or like, it's a status symbol. PlayStation's that status symbol, and then you want to start playing games with your friends. Now, crossplay has changed over the years. So now if you have a PlayStation, you have an Xbox, you have a PC, you can all play together, which is fantastic. So that's also hurting because PlayStation needed you to buy the box. Well, less people need to buy the box now because there's crossplay, there's cross progression, there's all these other things that are happening here. Nintendo doesn't really care about that because Nintendo, they've been watering that seed for the first 12 years of your life. when I was a kid, they still had a Mario Brothers show. They still had a Zelda show. They still marketed me, and while their commercials came up, they had advertisements for Nintendo. That's what PlayStation is trying to do with The Last of Us on HBO, right? Because they know their audience. No kids watching The Last of Us TV show. Let's be honest here, okay? So PlayStation might have a problem here unless they start making younger IPs to put towards that and then drop the age from 13 to like 10 to maybe like 9. But they're having problems to compete with Nintendo because Nintendo's there first. Nintendo's at their door first. But these are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. Do you think, because I think PlayStation's a little lost, okay? PlayStation's pricing is closer to a low-tier PC, okay? But their content on the system is meant for, early teens to middle age. I would say like mid-30s, early 40s, okay? Because at that time you have the wallet, right? You have the actual spendable income where you can spend it on things like a PlayStation. Now Nintendo, they're still there, right? Now it's $500, but it's still Nintendo. They're like, oh man, I remember Nintendo. I remember the NES. I remember the 64. I remember the GameCube. They're there first. PlayStation needs to get there first, but they're not. They're more like the baton toss, right? So let me know what you guys think they need to do. What does PlayStation need to do to get that age bracket lower? How do they do to beat Nintendo? Obviously, they already beat Xbox as far as the consoles, right? But now they're up against Nintendo because Nintendo's coming in. Do they make another handheld device to go head-to-head with Nintendo? Let me know in the comment section down below. Please make sure you share, like, subscribe, and if you like what I do here, check out some of our other videos. Thanks for watching. All right. Let me go to chat and see what you guys are saying here. Travis says Borderlands 4 standard $69.99, deluxe $99.99, and ultimate $139.99. No, I'm good. Cyberpunk is modern and also technically 5 years old. Eclipse says, what do you even get the season pass and all of what you got? Oh, is that for Borderlands? Ray says, my dad bought me a PlayStation 3 at Costco. I love him so much, but the first console I bought with my own money was an Xbox One S combo with the Halo Master Chief Collection, 5 and Gears 1 through 4. I got it because I was what I could afford. But you see what I'm saying, Ray? Like, if you can buy your... So Nintendo's given, basically, to most families. It's the number one selling console over the years, okay? When you're a kid and you get your first job, you already have a Nintendo, so you're like, I'm gonna spend my own money, right? You're gonna get a PlayStation, you're gonna get an Xbox, you're gonna try to get the older consoles because they have more mature games. Eclipse says, I just bought Dune Awakening for $70, and I'm also getting the DLC, which also includes 4. They also might be making more in the future, but at least I get 4. You should buy Borderlands 4 Deluxe Edition. Let's see. Roic says, I wouldn't be surprised if Sony doesn't try to reboot Little Big Planet. They tried a bunch of times with Little Big Planet to do other things. Every time PlayStation goes toe-to-toe with Nintendo, Nintendo wins. Nintendo is crazy Uncle Nintendo, man. They're the best at what they do. It's because their clientele is so young. It's like a rated R movie going up against a children's movie, right? A children's movie is going to make more money, even though the R movie is probably more popular as far as like from adults. When you go to take a kid to the theater, you got to pay for the kid, the parent. You know what I'm saying? They're making more money off of the G-rated movie than they are of the R-rated movie for majority of the reasons. 'Cause I know someone's gonna be like, "What about the Joker?" Right? G movies make more money than rated R movies. Because the G movies also make money off of toys, cartoons, you know what I mean? Spin-offs. Krebsy says, how do you reboot Little Big Planet? There's not much there to reboot. They can reboot it in a way where they bring back the characters but don't make it the same type of game. change the type of game it is. FNT says 30. I'm 50, turning 51, playing Sony games, but I'm a gamer. I like games. I don't care where they are. Sure, FNT, but you were also. I'm 47, and Nintendo came out in 1984, right? So even though you're 4 years older than me, we're in the same category, right? We started gaming at the exact same time, right? Hence why I'm the same as you. I like playing games where I play games. I don't care if it's on an Xbox, Nintendo, a PlayStation, a PC. I don't care. If I like a game, I'm gonna buy the game. But majority of the population doesn't do that. They buy one console and that's what they stick with. And that one console the majority of people bought when they were younger, or it was there when they got there, is Nintendo. You're not buying a PlayStation 5 Pro for your 5-year-old. It's not happening. Your 5-year-old will play a PlayStation 5 if it's in the house, but you're not buying that console for a 5-year-old. Ray says the PlayStation 5 is a console to get free-to-play games. They have more of those compared to the Xbox and Nintendo. Ray says, let's be honest, kids don't play Mario and Astrobot. Kids want GTA and Mortal Kombat. Well, getting out of that bracket, a 5-year-old's not playing GTA. A 5-year-old's not playing, Mortal Kombat. Again, if you have 2 kids and the older sibling is playing the game and they're playing it with the kids, sure. But you're not buying those games for a younger generation. FNT says Sony is lost. They're overconfident and now doing damage to the brand. I don't know if they're doing damage to the brand. I think they just need to stay where they are. I don't think they need to compete with Nintendo to get there first. I think they just need to stay where they are and just keep making the games for and pass that baton. Because again, families buy Nintendo, individuals buy Sony because they grow up and they want more mature games and different types of games. Then I think that's like the stepping stone. Like when you first get your first car, it's a beat up car. Sure. Do kids get Porsches and Ferraris for their kids? Sure. But the majority of the population of the world, you get a beat up fucking junker for your first car. And then you buy your next beat up junker yourself, or you buy a new car once you get into the money. Sony is so lost. They passed $31 billion revenue, and Sony is also valued at the highest it's ever been. That's being lost. I hope I get lost. But they're selling less consoles. More money because they're asking for more money, so they make more money, sure. Again, keep the same energy because Xbox is also the biggest, and everyone says that Xbox is failing as well. So just make sure we keep that same energy across the board. Kraken says they definitely have a chance if they didn't abandon legacy IPs. There's also Sly Cooper, Jackson Dexter, Spyro. They also lost Crash. Haven't made another Ratchet and Clank. We had this conversation a couple months ago when they said they didn't have enough IPs. I was like, what are you talking about? You have plenty of IPs. Hal says, are you getting an Ally X? No, I'm not getting any system when it comes out. I have to see what the battery life is. I gotta see how often, how fast the stick drift happens. I don't like playing on smaller screens. I mean, I am not the clientele. The only reason I would get that Ally X or whatever thing is obviously if it has a attachment where I can hook it up and that's like the console I can play on the screen, which I know you can do because it has an HDMI port. But I'm not getting it day one. I never get anything day one. Krebs says, in my opinion, a 5-year-old shouldn't play video games. Well, I disagree with that. There's games out there when you're saying video games, you're talking about like any kind of like shoot 'em up and stuff like that. There's plenty of video games out there that teach kids colors and numbers and all this other stuff, right? Like functionality of things. So when you say video game, there's a shit ton of different types of video games. FNT says, yeah, you're right. I played Nintendo when I was younger. So, of course, I'm going to play this. Right, because it's nostalgia. That's what I'm saying. Nintendo has that. They plant that seed when you're younger. So you have those good memories. I mean, you're a kid. Unless you were brought up in a really shithole type of place. Most of the time, some of your best memories is when you were playing with your friends. And you're like, I remember playing this game when I was a kid. I remember playing Nintendo when I was a kid. Right? Which is before your good memories of Sony when you were in your teens and you played those video games, right? You remember Nintendo first. I started playing games when I was 3. Was the Atari 2600 bowling and tennis, was that too much for me? Where it was like 8 pixels, throwing 3 pixels to 10 pixels? Like, was that overdeveloping my skills? Was this too much? Here, hold on a second. Yeah, this is definitely, kids at 5 years old shouldn't play games like this. This is the downfall of humanity right here. Downfall of humanity. I was 3 when I played that. Looks better than mine's eye. Now Krebsy's typing. I didn't say it was the fall of humanity. I just said that 5-year-olds shouldn't play video games. Don't worry about it, Krebsy. You don't have to type it. I could point out my own issues with Sony being a fan, but also the products that the product as quality has gone down. Expect sound now. Well, I think you could say that with anything. FNT. I think you could say that the quality of products have gone down dramatically across the board, not just with Sony, with just products in general, from like refrigerators to remote controls to RC cars to video games. 100%. This takes me back to my childhood, believe it or not. Yeah, the tennis and the bowling. That's it, Travis. Yeah, it's because I'm bald because of the radiation. I sat too close to the television set, and back then we had nuclear reactors in our television sets. We had radiations pouring out, melting my face like in was it Raiders of the Lost Ark or Poltergeist? Sarge says, "Why did you show bowling? What was that?" Well, Krebsy said that kids that are 5 years old shouldn't be playing video games. And I said, this is the downfall of humanity. And I showed the bowling game because, not all games I'm saying are like Grand Theft Auto. There's games that teach you like colors and like math and different things. There's different video games. Roic says most products have planned obsolescence. No, not most products. All products. All products have planned obsolescence. 100%. There's someone sitting in an office with a on the keyboard, and it's just a button, just keeps pressing the button, right? Just to see how many times that button can be pressed. And they're like, you could press that like 15,000 times, right? And it's like, okay, well, what can we charge for that? Well, we'll charge $400 for that keyboard. All right, sounds good. And it breaks in like 12 months, and then we'll get $400 out of somebody. Robert Jones says 71% can't read and 80% play games. Kids love to hide themselves and go into their friend's house and play M-rated games. Sure, but that's a parent thing. That comes back down to parenting. That wasn't a game. That was ear rape. I mean, that haunts my dreams. I remember it though. Let's go with the other one. Hold on. This is the other game that nobody should play ever. This is it. Everyone likes Mario Tennis. Now this, we had tournaments of this. Neighbors would come over and we all play. Like you're hitting a hockey puck. You're hitting a hockey puck over there. And look, what's the name at the bottom of the screen? What's the name of the bottom of the screen? That's right, Activision. How did they survive? How did Activision make all of these other games? Oh my God. It's because they sold and made a game and then sold that game. Kraken says this must have came out when dinosaurs were still around. Yep. Yeah, this is the same graphics you're going to get on the Switch too. The controls look better than the tennis game. It's actually really good. Yeah, because the Atari had the suction cup that you would always pull off and stuck to your forehead and stuff like that. But it had all the directions. It wasn't a D-pad. What it had 12 directions, if I'm not mistaken. All right, let's go to the next one. Next story. PlayStation has its head in the sand about its live service future. This comes from Paul Tassi from Forbes. If you guys like what I do here, we do this Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning till noon Eastern. We just get you through a couple of hours of your day. If you like it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. Again, if you're inside the chat and you haven't hit that like button yet, there's over 30 of you here. There's only 17 likes. Can you get that up to at least 30 likes? I appreciate you very much. Okay, so PlayStation has its head in the sand about its live service future. Okay, while fans wait for crumbs of the new information about PlayStation games like Intergalactic and Wolverine, Sony is continuing to tout their current and future live service plans, saying that it's very, very committed to building a diverse and resilient live service portfolio, according to the boss, Herman Holtz. Okay, this is the wake of promises that PlayStation has learned lessons from the failure of Concord. He says, quote, "We have reviewed our process in light of this, deeply understand how it is why a little title failed to meet expectations and to ensure we're not going to make the same mistakes again," Holtz said. Okay. So live service, build foundations, strengths, and capabilities, establishing a portfolio of successful live service titles. So MLB The Show, okay, Density 2, Helldivers, Marathon, and Fair Games. Fair Games is going to close pretty fast. Pretty fast. Didn't they already close? What was the other one that closed down already? Was it Fair Games? No, Fair Games had someone leave recently, didn't they? But looking at Sony's plans, it's plain light of day, despite of all projected confidences. Much feel that the company is burying its head in the sand when it comes to reality of the situation. Off the games pictured on the live service planning sheet, we can also break down most of them down to different ways. Let's see here. Helldivers 2, unequivocally the success story, one of the only ones that Sony had during the recent push, but something is limited time offer. Developer Arrowhead is not a Sony studio. It's also announced that because Helldivers 2 has done so well that they are able to self-fund to publish their next game without Sony's help at all. While they also said no shade to Sony, it reinforces the Arrowhead is not in some sort of in-house live service powerhouse that it can also rely indefinitely, and they also be moving on. Okay, I saw, real quick, since we're talking about Helldivers, I put it in Discord the other day. I just happened to come across a video got recommended me, and it was talking about Helldivers 2 was being rumored that it was coming out like everywhere, like it was going to come out on Xbox. And there was a video that they privated, which was talking about reinforcements, was talking about more people playing Helldivers. We need you. Come on. Now, obviously, they just opened up the region lock as well. right? So more people around the world can actually play Helldivers 2. But at the same time, it could be that maybe by the end of summer, maybe by the end of this year, that Helldivers 2 would probably, again, come over to Xbox because it's a live service game, so it'll be in more places. But we'll see. We'll see. Those are just rumors that I saw. Next is Destiny 2. A decade-spanning series is something that's also a miracle in the land of live service, and you're also going to eventually help launch the entire trend. But in year 11, things are scaling way down in the post-Light of Darkness era, and the game has gone from a record highs to record lows and moves towards a new frontier. Okay, allow the game to subsist, but also simply never going to reach previously high watermarks. It's never going to go back up to that. Sony also has not allowed Bungie to put D2 to bed in order to take the time and make Destiny 3, and that may never, ever even hear as Destiny 2 shambles as past expiration date. Then you have Marathon. Herman Holtz made headlines calling the game bold and innovative of stealing people's things, and slides touting strong engagement about the game. But it's also just sandblasting away the enormous issues facing Marathon. Quadruple combo blow of number 1, a poor gameplay. 2, mixed poor alpha feedback. 3, a headline-dominating art plagiarism. And 4, a post-alpha post-plagiarism live stream that didn't do little to reassure anyone, any front. Marathon is also in deep trouble, and it'll also be something, a miracle for this game to land the way that Sony wants it to. And there's been talks now that they may delay it until late quarter, quarter 4, which is still in 2025, but it would be early 2026 up until, February or March? So it could launch. They haven't delayed it yet. Then you have Fair Games. Head of the studio, Jay Raymond, just left. Oh, that's the person that left. Just left the project. Reports that the internal tests say that the game is bad. We have not seen or heard anything from the almost 2 years. It's either going to be canceled ahead of release or explore on the launch pad. If any game has of a Concord-like future ahead of it, it did actually come out, is Fair Game. Interesting. So Fair Game could be the next Concord, or Marathon could be the next Concord. Those are also listed games. The other majors are non-canceled projects. We know are the upcoming Horizon Zero Dawn multiplayer Monster Hunter. There's also been almost nothing from it. It's also involved in always a risky idea, trying to convert fans from a single-player series into something that is dedicated multiplayer offerings. I think you could do that. Grand Theft Auto did it very, very nicely. Grand Theft Auto did it where you're a single-player campaign, and they made it to an online aspect of it within the same game itself, so they could learn something from Rockstar from that. Sony carved out a chunk of Bungie to make a new in-house studio working on the game codenamed Gummy Bears, which does not have a name or any sort of preview footage. There's also internal tests where they also been positive, and hardly the first time we've heard that before. Perhaps most promising item of them all is the information about Jason Bundle, also owned studio besides or inside Sony, something cool akin of Black Ops Zombies experience, but again, zero information here. Sony may be putting a brave face on, but things are going to be going poorly, and the next 2 live games are probably not even going to be coin flip of whether or not they fail or not. If there are any of them in the past, they also still years away from literally nothing public shown about any of them. It's not good. I mean, look, not everybody can make blockbusters all the time. I've said this in the past. I'll keep saying it. Not every book that you write is a bestseller. Not every movie you come out with is a blockbuster hit, right? Not every video game you do is game of the year. Okay, you're going to come out with stuff, and it's going to be less than stellar. Or again, we do this example all the time with movies. A movie studio releases like 10 to 12 movies a year. 7 of those movies are going to bomb. They're going to make zero money. They're going to lose money for the actual studio. Okay, then you're going to make 2 of movies, 8 and 9. Okay, are going to be where they barely break even or just make a little bit of money. And then you're going to have 1 movie that's a blockbuster and it makes hundreds of millions of dollars above what it's made. Okay, and then that money goes back into the studio and they put it in and they make 10 movies again for the next year, right? That's what they do. This is the same process. And they also make profit off that, right? They make profit and people get very rich off of this, okay? Same thing that goes with these companies like Sony, like Microsoft, right? Microsoft's got, 28 studios? 28 studios. Okay, now obviously a studio comes out with 10, 12 movies a year. Video games are not coming out 12 games a year, right? Obviously, Microsoft could do something like that in the near future where they have more studios on there. But if they come out with, let's say, 4 games, okay, let's do half, 4 games, 5 games a year from first-party studios, and one of them succeeds and the other 4 bomb, they're still successful. So if Helldivers is making a crap ton of money in their live service department for Sony, and Concord failed, they lost money there. Let's say they lose money with Marathon, and let's say they lose money with Fairbanks, or Fairbanks? No, Fair Game. All right. If they lose money with that, they're still up because of Helldivers 2 making money for them. Hence why they probably open up Helldivers, because they know that Fair Games is going to fail. They know that Marathon is going to have a problem, so they opened up Helldivers to the other 120 regions they closed down to. But these are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. What do you think about Sony's live service games? We talked about this a couple years ago when they announced they were putting 60% towards the live service. I said, I hope this doesn't hurt their first-party titles. And yet, first-party titles are few and far between, okay? And they have exclusive deals with third-party games that come out and have been successful for them. But for their first-party titles, we haven't really seen their first-party titles this year. But we'll see in the future. Just a down year maybe for Sony. But they're still profitable. So imagine that, right? Still being profitable, still making the most money, but yet on a slow year for them as far as their first-party titles. Again, these are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. Please make sure you share, like, subscribe. If you like what I do here, check out some of the other videos. Thanks for watching. All right, let me scroll back up here and see what you guys are saying. Roic says, well, if they think Marathon is the future, I would say that they have it in the toilet. Jason says, the Paul figured out why Concord failed yet? It's still a big unsolved mystery. FNT says the last 2 Sony consoles both have overheating and cleaning issues, and also the 6 comes out as good. I won't be buying it because the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 are not made for the Western Australian conditions. Feels Good Man says, fair game. Looks worse than Marathon. Thomas says, Firewalk, Concord devs. Krebsy says, can I get a collective fuck Paul? Ray says, imagine if Sony made Helldivers 2 multiplat just to keep Arrowhead partnership for the next game. Well, they said they don't want to make it. They don't want to team up with them. They made a good money with Helldivers 2, so we'll see what happens. Helldivers is still owned by Sony, so Arrowhead can't just go out and make another Helldivers and put it wherever. Sony owns the name, owns the IP. There's a quote or paraphrase, Marathon is due out before March 2026. Right. They didn't delay it yet, but if they do, it's still coming out this year. Yeah. This year meaning business-wise. It ends on February 30th, 29th, whatever, 28th. Krebs says, Paul calls himself a journalist, is called to Bungie, and doesn't know that the new studio who took over Gummy Bears is called LFG. Is LFG, is that the studio called Let's Fucking Go, or is it stand for something else? House says, I actually have hope for Marathon now because they replaced the creative director that wouldn't also listen to the feedback, and Sony basically said they're going to invest in the game. Well, I said that they're not going to cancel it. They're not canceling this game, right? They're full steam ahead. This game's coming out regardless of if it's bad or good, right? As of right now, they're not delaying it, right? And I said in the past, I said they can delay it, but as of right now, I think they're sticking to September 23rd. Right? 22nd, 23rd? Eclipse says, I mean, it feels short story got published, and then, yeah, you made a book. What's going on, Argus? The problem is that the whole draw and the reason to even buy or choose a PlayStation as a console of choice, their executives, and also first-party games, and if that is heavily slacking across the entire... Right, because they went for the live service stuff, which did hurt their first party, push. They still have the third party stuff, but yeah, it's a down year, but they're still successful. Looking for group. Thank you. I mean, it would be a better name if it was Let's Fucking Go, but FNT says Bungie was also wrong to choose when it comes to live service. Blizzard is, but they're lousy. Okay. Argus says also Destiny may have lasted a long time, but it's still running on fueled by FOMO. Nothing they are doing is particularly creative or impressive anymore. Yeah, I've stopped playing for a really long time ago. You know where I stand with Bungie. They're done to me. I've always said they had money problems and situations and just not a very good company. And it's like, they're perfect. They can't do anything wrong. And then we've watched plenty of videos that say otherwise. What's going on, Dolphin? Oh, so I was watching this. We're not going to watch the whole video. I just wanted to watch this interview for a second, right? So as Across was watching the Herman Holtz video, this is why I hate when they do this stuff, right? And I've done thousands and thousands of interviews. And I'm not talking about like interviews on a podcast. I'm talking about filming interviews for companies like this, where they sit in a room and they pretend they're being candid with you, and they pretend that they are just talking from the hip, okay? There's nothing in front of me right now that I'm reading from, okay? I'm just talking what's coming to my mind as I see things, okay? When you watch this, okay, 100% they're reading off a teleprompter, okay? They can't even ask the questions. They can't even ask the questions without even looking at the teleprompter, okay? So this is a video from As Across. We're just watching a small portion. I just want you to look at Herman Holtz, and everybody is sitting on this panel and looking at the stuff, okay? All right, so this is a video. I haven't watched the entire video, right? So I was watching him earlier and came across this, and I looked at this interview stuff, and I was like, for God's sakes, first of all, body language is everything, okay? First of all, they're all kind of like, they're stuffy, right? They're stuffy because they're suits, okay? Herman Holtz has got the most personality. This dude can't look at the teleprompter because if he does, he's going to give it away, okay? This camera angle's saving them because you can't tell where they're looking. But then,
said earlier, we've introduced much more rigorous processes for validating, for revalidating our creative, our commercial, our development.
You see where he's looking? He's not looking at this dude. Okay, he's not looking at this dude. There's a teleprompter maybe 10, 15 feet back from him on a nice big 52-inch screen, okay?
Assumptions and hypotheses, and we now do that on a much more ongoing basis.
Because when you talk to somebody, you look at them. He's not looking at them. He's constantly staring at the right? Like camera's here, right? I'm looking at you guys when I try to talk on chat. Chat's here. So when I look at chat and read chat, I'm not looking at chat. This is looking at chat. This is looking at the actual screen, okay?
And that's the plan that will ensure that we're investing in the right opportunities at the
so watch
in over a decade. So we're really
right there. You see his eyes?
Excited for that release. We're monitoring. We're going through the test cycles. We're monitoring.
And his eyes shift, right? He's looking at the guy. He's looking at the actual interview right there. Not there. Right there, he's looking at the screen.
Post-alpha cycle.
There again.
The team has just gone through.
He's reading it right there. He's looking at to see what it is.
We're taking all the lessons learned.
Now, if you're actually listening to what he's saying, it's gobbledygook. It's gobbledygook. It's just stuff that they're saying that the investors want to hear and what they're putting out. They don't believe what they're saying. They don't believe what they're saying because if they did, they wouldn't need a fucking script, right? And they're not the only ones that do this, okay? Microsoft does this. All of these do this. That's why I hate when they have interviews with this. This is why I like when they sit down with somebody and just have a conversation with them, not these staged events they have in their own little thing. because it's scripted. He is not looking at anybody.
That we're using the capabilities that we've built in analytics and
Looking at the bullet points and trying to hit the things that he's supposed to say.
To understand how audiences are.
Nobody does this. If you're having a conversation with somebody, you're looking at the actual person.
Engaging with the title. And
do you think they're reading a teleprompter? I know 100% he's reading a teleprompter. Tarnished Gamer. I literally come from a film and television background. Okay? I've done thousands of these interviews with tech companies, construction companies, military people, right? Where they sit down in their, where they seem like they're being buddy with you and they're reading off a teleprompter. 1,000%. You know, because even the questions that are being asked, wait for it.
You know, some of that feedback, frankly, has been varied, but it's super useful. That's why you do these testing. And the constant testing and the constant revalidation
right there. He's looking at a teleprompter right there.
Of assumptions that we just talked about, to me, is just so valuable to iterate and to constantly improve the.
Yeah, so pretty much what we just
hold
read.
on. I want to see where the guy asked the question, right? So here's the guy asked the question.
To leverage our learnings to maximize engagement and player satisfaction throughout the life cycle of the title.
What is your philosophy?
Where's he looking at? Where's this guy looking at right now to ask the question?
Philosophy around creating IP. Is it a priority, and how do you ensure that it is?
1,000%. Because even the way he's asking the question, right? He didn't ask the question. He's writing a question, or he's reading a question that was written down for him. Okay? So this is 1,000%, as Sarge just said in chat, damage control for what's happening for the investors. Because, like, what the fuck's happening?
Differentiated.
At our core, we believe.
Now, I want you to look, just slightly. I want you to look at the girl real fast. Okay? He asked the question. I'm going to rewind it. Okay, I'm going to rewind it. He asked the question. He's staring at a teleprompter.
And how do you
not actually asking the question himself? He looks so uncomfortable sitting in that chair.
Ensure that it is differentiated.
Right? Now, he asked the question. She's looking at the guy talking because that's usually what you do when someone's talking. You stare at him. Okay? Dude closest to the guy is looking directly down. He's never ever looks at the screen, at the monitor, because he doesn't want to look at what the bullshit that they're saying. Now watch the girl on the side, because the question was asked. She was looking at him. He's about to talk. Where does she look?
Core.
Boom. Where is she looking at? She turns her head, right? She turns her head. She would just stare at him if he's talking. Nope. Turns her head towards what he's reading. Because now she's looking at the screen and reading what he's saying.
Amazing ideas.
And she's just staying comfortable. So in these type of formats where they sit down and have, it's much more, it comes across more friendly, okay, if there's multiple people on the stage. Because it seems off if there was just two people on stage. So they bring more people on stage and they just sit there. Sometimes you get the other people on stage, they start lip reading what the thing is saying. So like they're asked a question, the person that's answering the question, but he's just reading, they start reading the screen next to them. Now, in this situation, they didn't do it.
As leadership to create an environment, to foster an environment in which these teams can succeed.
First of all, teleprompter's too high, okay? Teleprompter's too high. They should have put it on the camera. On the camera. And they put the camera over the other guy's shoulder, so when they're looking at him, it looks like he's looking at him.
As leadership, we support him with the...
Right? She is literally looking at the teleprompter. He is looking at the table because he's like, I can't look at that.
Tools, the capabilities, the structures that they need to develop those ideas into successful IP. So we recently formed...
He's looking at the teleprompter now. Who are they looking at? Who are they looking at? 4 people in a room, and they're all looking this way, past the thing. Stop it.
Out of incubation, 2 new studios, Dark Outlaw
Look, see? She keeps looking at him and then looking at the screen.
Games and Team LFG.
Look at him. Look at the screen.
That kind of
Where are you looking at? There's no live studio audience.
Highlights further.
Chat, what is the...
So, look. You believe what you want to believe, okay? This is 1,000% damage control, okay? Terrible situation. Most people won't notice this. I nitpick shit because I notice shit, okay? he is 100% reading a prompter. And badly, by the way, right? If he truly believed what he believes, then he could just say it. But they got to be very, very careful what they say because the investors, right? And what this shows me is that they are in trouble. They are in trouble because if they weren't in trouble, they wouldn't be doing this, okay? But they have to show something. They have to show some sort of, we're okay. Yeah, we're fine. Yeah, we're not reading a teleprompter and these questions aren't asked specifically for the thing. Like, hell, the guy that's a host could have at least sat there with a cue card and read it off a cue card, but no, he's pretending that he's asking a question. What would you do if the thing... And then Herman Holtz is pretending that he's giving an honest answer. No, he's reading off a fucking teleprompter. All right. I want to watch this skill up video. He talked about the ROG Xbox Ally is a glimpse of the future of Xbox handheld, hand-on impressions. We didn't watch any of these last week or whatever, so I'm gonna watch him. He's usually down the middle type of for majority of the stuff. Turner says, yeah, it's quite strange. Never really had a conversation with someone looking off in the distance. It's just weird. It's just weird. Do you think investors are happy they're also reading from a teleprompter? The investors don't even know they're reading off a teleprompter. Argus is 100% curated. Guy probably doesn't even generally know himself if the information that he has is talking about. It's exactly right, Argus. Exactly right. And again, this is not me pointing out that Sony is the only person that does this. No. Corporations do this all the time. I literally said it where I said I've done this thousands of times. Thousands and thousands of interviews of people just like this. In other words, investors open those portfolios and Sony is sweating. $3.6 billion for that teleprompter. Yeah, they are in. Man, I've heard some really just bullshit stuff said in a lot of conventions that I've been to, or corporations, from IBM to Oracle to telecom to fucking NASA, right? I've done so many damn interviews for people in big tech companies with CEOs and stuff, and I just look at them like I'm sitting there filming and going, these motherfuckers. They don't believe any of the stuff that they're saying. They're just trying to trick you to make you give them more money. And if you're not the person that's the consumer, they're looking for the investors. It's most execs in the companies. I won't even put specifically on Sony. No, 100%. Yeah, this is not a, you see what Sony's doing? They're reading off a teleprompter. No, I show you the same thing. The only reason I'm picking this one out specifically, it just happened, and it's terrible. Because other people that read off teleprompters, they're much more, I don't know, fluent, and you can't really tell. Because they usually look at the person when they're talking to them, not, right? Like, it's just bad. All right. Let's watch this Skillups review of his hands-on of the ROG Ally.
This video is brought to you by Surfshark VPN. Stick around to learn more about how Surfshark lets you browse the web freely and securely. Plus, get 4 additional months for free when you sign up over at surfshark.com/skillup. Click below for that link or stick around
wrong
to the
there,
end of the video
Travis.
to learn more. Bit of a quiet Summer Games Fest this year, to be honest. The showcases had plenty of heavy hitters in there, but the media-only Playdays event was where you could actually go hands-on with this stuff. And other than Resident Evil 9 being playable, this year's show was mainly focused on smaller titles, AA's and indies. Arguably the most...
Now, a lot of you probably thought the same thing. You're like, oh, you watch the shows, and we're like, yeah. Now, Jeff Keighley had the most views ever on the most lackluster show ever. But they don't take that as bad, obviously, because more views. they had more views. So they successfully had more views, and everyone thinks, well, see, all the stuff that they had, more viewers means better show. It was probably one of the worst shows for Summer Game Fest that I've seen in the last decade.
Interesting thing that we could get our hands on this year was this bad boy, the ROG Xbox Ally, a very smartly marketed and smartly designed handheld that opens up an entirely new category for Microsoft, the handheld PC, but also hints at the future of Xbox's next generation of hardware. I got the chance to go hands-on with this thing at a behind closed doors briefing featuring a number of people who were integral in the making of this thing. The product lead, the software lead, Xbox's head of user experience, and also Asus's product lead.
I said you're not wrong, Travis. I said you're not wrong.
For the ROG Ally. I only got to test out Gears of War Reloaded on it. I was not able to capture any of my own gameplay, so anything that you're seeing here on screen is just generic gameplay captured from other platforms. So I think it's important first to clarify what this thing is and who made it, because I think if you watch the Xbox Direct, you'd be like, oh cool, Xbox are making a handheld. And that's kind of true, but it's also kind of not. A number of years ago now.
Well, no, they teamed up, and again, it's not to toot my own horn, even though it sounds like I am. But last year, when everyone's like, oh, they should make a handheld, I said it would be stupid for them to make a handheld. I said if they teamed up with someone to make a handheld, that makes much more sense, considering that Xbox, their consoles didn't sell very well, right? And then there was the rumor of they were making their own handheld, which is now the rumor that it got canceled, which makes sense because why would you put the research and development towards something where you're spending hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, where your whole marketing campaign is everything's an Xbox, and then you're going to go make the next handheld device when you just put your name and brand on a handheld device, right? So it makes no sense to me. It's like saying that they're going to get into VR, but why would they invest in VR when they can just, boom, put it on the Meta Quest 3, the most popular VR, right? Like that's the point. Like you wouldn't spend the money because they would make a percentage of all of these things that sell instead of making the thing and no one's buying it because it only plays Xbox games on it, right? And if you make a handheld device that plays Steam and GOG, and then what's the point of this one? Now it's like, which one do you do best? Which one sells better? It's whichever one's cheaper.
PC manufacturer Asus released the ROG Ally, a handheld PC that ran Windows 11 and obviously was intended for playing video games. On spec, it was an impressive device.
I don't think it's the test, Thomas. I think it's the thing. It would be dumb if Microsoft made their own box. Nintendo Switch sold almost 60 million units. The PlayStation 4 sold 125 million units. The PlayStation 5 sold 70 million units. The Xbox One sold 40 million units, 50 million units. The Xbox Series S and X only sold 36 million units, whatever it is. And you think they're going to come out with their own handhelds, what, so they can sell 4 million of them? This will sell 4 to 7 million copies. And they didn't put their money towards it. They're just making money off of it.
With a higher performance ceiling than the Steam Deck at the cost of less battery efficiency, as well as a better screen, and most notably, the freedom to play any PC game, because obviously SteamOS won't let you play a whole bunch of stuff, namely things that require easy anti-cheat in the background, Destiny 2 for example, but also stuff like, you know, your Epic Games library and your Ubisoft Plus library if you're unfortunate enough to have one of those, or, you know, Game Pass games, for example. So the Asus ROG Ally was a pretty great machine that was held back by one big thing, Windows 11.
I just realized this. That guy...
ROG Ally was a pretty great machine that was held
Rollercoaster, I understand.
back by one
He's in a go-kart. He's not touching the wheel.
big thing. Windows 11 really sucks at the best of times, but it especially sucks on a handheld. The user experience is not at all aligned to controller usage, and you know, it does do some touchscreen stuff, but it doesn't work very well, and it especially does not work on a screen this small. There was also the incessant need to update things, since Windows seems to want to update something or other every other day. Hibernation was also a big issue. Handhelds are meant to be the sort of device you can put down at a moment's notice, but
This is the only reason I would play
was
get
also
a game
a big
like this, but I
issue.
wouldn't get it day one. Is
Handhelds are
that
meant to be
if
the
this is the new future, if this is the Xbox, the next Xbox, if this is the next PlayStation, if this is the next whatever, where they're all handheld devices, I can't play it with the handheld. I need a screen. I need it to attach.
a device you can put down at a moment's notice, but Windows is still running a number of background processes during hibernation, all of which would drain battery life faster. More recently, the performance cost of Windows has also been revealed. Lenovo released a version of their Legion Go running Steam OS instead of Windows 11, and even though they have the same internals, the Steam OS version delivers better performance because it isn't being held back by all that Windows bloat. So that all sets the stage for a device that was good but was really held back by Windows. Enter Microsoft, or more specifically actually Xbox. See, Phil Spencer has been pretty keen to enter the handheld category for a long while now. It's something he's brought up on multiple occasions, to the point where it's been reported that Microsoft are working on their own first-party Microsoft
Mainly the toilet. How much time do you spend on the toilet?
manufactured handheld that would launch alongside the next Xbox in around 2027. Apparently these plans have now been scrapped in favor of Xbox improving the Windows 11 gaming experience, a point we will certainly come back to. So the handheld PC category is growing thanks to Valve and to a lesser extent Asus and Lenovo. Phil wants a handheld, but you can't just magic one.
Look at Phil right here, where he's being interviewed at where he's in a fisherman chair. He's not reading off a fucking screen prompter there, by the way. He's just having a conversation with the guy. Now, could he have had notes ahead of time? 100%. But at least he's not reading off a fucking teleprompter.
Something like that into existence. So what do? Well, you start with a marketing partnership with a third party, and that's
But that's also a different type of interview. The interview that Sony was doing was for investors. The interview for that was talking about the games and the system.
exactly what Xbox did at around the same time that the Asus ROG Ally first launched. They were giving away Game Pass subscriptions when you bought one of these things, and Phil Spencer would prominently feature it when talking about the different ways you could play Xbox games. It turns out that was just the start of the Microsoft Asus courtship, because this past week we met the latest fruits of that union, the ROG Xbox Ally, a device manufactured by Asus but co-developed by Asus and Microsoft. Photos of the device were leaked some time ago, and they weren't particularly flattering photos given the lighting and all the fingerprints, but seeing it here in these photos and then seeing it in the flesh, I can tell you that it is a far more handsome device when you're holding it. It is basically an Asus ROG Ally with handles, but those handles make all the difference in the world. It's the reason I refuse to use my Switch 2 without a case that adds ergonomic grips to it. dbrand.com/skill up to grab one of these, by the way, link below in the description. And it's the reason that the Xbox Ally feels so comfortable to hold. As soon as I picked up this thing, I was like, yes, okay, now we are talking. It obviously
I don't own a handheld device, but when I go to Best Buy, they have like the ROG Ally, they had the Steam Deck. Those are beefy machines, but when you hold them, they feel a lot more comfortable than when you hold a Switch. The Switch is like too thin for the bigger hands. Like when you hold it, it just feels weird holding it.
obviously results in a bigger profile for the device. Kind of reminds me of the old Duke controllers from the original Xbox, but it is undoubtedly really nice to hold with weight evenly distributed throughout the device. One thing that I did notice is that it is quite heavy. I held the X version of this device, which is sporting the beefier specs than the base version, and as soon as I picked it up, I could feel that weight. That's something I guess I was more sensitive to this week because obviously I have been playing the Switch 2 all week, a device that is surprisingly light given its form factor. The Switch 2 weighs just 534 grams, while the ROG Xbox Ally weighs 715, so already you can get a sense of the kind of differential that exists between the two devices. For what it's worth, the Steam Deck OLED weighs 640 grams, so it's sort of sitting in the middle between the two. Also do note that the Xbox Ally is actually the thickest handheld PC on the market, more so than the Asus ROG Ally, more so than the Lenovo Legion Go, certainly more so than the Steam Deck OLED or the Switch. So if you are looking for a device that is light and thin,
and you can cook an egg on it, then this is for you.
this one is definitely not for you. Now, I guess would be a good time to talk about the specs on this thing, and honestly, they are impressive. There are two versions, the base Ally, which comes in white, and the Ally X, which is black. They both have the same 1080p 120Hz refresh rate LCD screen. It's good, but it's not great, and I'm actually quite surprised that the X version of this unit doesn't have a newer screen on there. It would have been nice to have something OLED.
Well, how would you do an upgrade 2 years from now? Ralph, come on.
But I'm guessing this thing is already going to be quite pricey as it is, so maybe they were just looking to contain costs as best they could. The X version has impulse triggers, which are kind of like haptic feedback triggers and are a really nice addition that makes the device feel closer to a typical Xbox controller experience. Internally, the difference between the two SKUs is really significant. The white version has a less powerful chip, 16 gigabytes of RAM, 512 gigabytes of storage, and a 60 watt-hour battery. These are decent specs that are going to give Asus and Microsoft some flex to price fairly aggressively. The X version of this device is definitely the one to watch though. It's sporting 1 terabyte of storage, 32 gigabyte of RAM, and that RAM is faster than on the base model. Most importantly, it features the brand new AMD Ryzen Z2 Extreme Pro.
Can you swap out the battery and also the memory and the storage. Can you swap out these things? Like on the Steam Deck, can you swap this stuff out? Or are you stuck what it is?
Processor. It's the first time we've seen it in any device, and it's going to be really interesting to see what sort of performance benchmarks it delivers and at what battery cost. And that's actually a really key thing to understand about this category versus how we typically think about consoles. Delivering more power in these devices is easy. Hell, just strap a screen to the front of an RTX 5090 and away you go. The question is, how long can the battery in
that's my biggest thing. Just storage? Okay.
Device power all of its internals? Valve were extremely astute when they designed the Steam Deck because they weren't looking to deliver raw processing power, they were looking to deliver the best balance of processing throughput and battery. And they did it so well that it is still the most efficient handheld PC on the market all these years later. Point is, the LAX has a new, more powerful chipset, but until we're actually able to test it under different conditions.
See, my problem is, obviously console, you can plug it in, it stays where it is. When you have a handheld, and you're playing it at home, like, I don't think people want to be plugged in and then hold it in their hand. You know what I mean? I don't know. And then if it's always plugged in, then you're killing the battery more than if it was just unplugged, playing it till it drains, and then plug it in.
Conditions and under different wattages, we really don't know how efficient it is, and that really is the key word when we're talking about these handhelds: efficiency. In terms of my own testing, the device I got my hands on only had a few very carefully selected games installed, things like Balatro and Vampire Survivors, and other very sort of simple 2D games. The only 3D title I saw on there was Gears of War Reloaded. I did boot it up. I did, max out the settings. The maximum wattage setting that was available within the device, I was able to get between 70 and 90 FPS while I was playing through the intro mission of that.
Played for 10 minutes and the battery died.
Game. But that game came out quite some time ago now. It's not really a good benchmark test. And so we will obviously need to see how this thing actually performs on, more modern titles. So all of this is well and good, but do remember, at the end of the day, this is still running Windows 11. And given all the problems I listed at the start of this video, things like, user experience and performance and hibernation and battery life, etc., why would you want to buy one of these things? Well, this is actually where it gets really interesting, and I've kind of saved the best for last. During the presentation, Microsoft revealed that the Ally would still be running Windows 11, but that they're rethinking how Windows 11 loads and runs on a gaming handheld. For example, when you boot this thing up, it doesn't boot into Windows. It boots into the Xbox dashboard experience, giving you access to your Xbox library, Game Pass titles, and your library of games on other PC storefronts. And while they didn't list them, you can bet it's going to be Steam and Epic and probably a bunch of others. In terms of the overall aesthetics of this dashboard user experience, it's very similar to the current Xbox PC client. So if you've been using that for a little while now, this will feel quite familiar to you. But that's actually not the best part of the boot process, because when you turn this thing on, it is loading Windows 11, but it's only loading the most necessary parts of it in order to be able to play games. So it won't load a number of back-end Windows processes that result in the typical Windows performance overhead. It won't load, File Explorer. It won't load the taskbar. It won't load anything it doesn't need. And to be clear, you can choose to load the full Windows.
Why can't I get that version on my regular computer?
Experience if you want to, in the same way that you can boot Steam OS into a desktop mode. But that is not how this device boots up. Those other things stay closed until they're needed, and Microsoft claims that this not only improves system responsiveness, but it also frees up RAM and CPU headroom that can be directed toward game performance. And in fact, Microsoft says it frees up as much as 2 gigabytes of RAM, and they say they're still planning for further efficiency gains. Now, of course, we don't know if any of this is true, and I mean, I obviously believe them when they say that the taskbar doesn't load, but does that actually translate into, better performance in games? We don't know yet. That is an unproven claim at this point, but it's a logical one and an exciting one, frankly, since, if Microsoft can close the gap between Windows 11 performance and SteamOS performance, then that's a good thing for everyone. So, acknowledging that there are still a bunch of question marks around this thing and a bunch of unproven claims and the need to test its performance under different settings, what do I think of the ROG Xbox Ally? Honestly, so far, I'm quite impressed. I think the existence of 2 SKUs is going to make the handheld both accessible at the lower end and performant at the upper end. I think the ergonomics are fantastic, even with it being rather...
Look, this is the S and X all over again, right? This is the S and X all over again. The white one will sell more than the X, and the X is going to be extremely expensive. I think the white one is going to be priced at a really reasonable, but it's not going to be as good, right? It's not going to be as good. And if it sells very well, this is why maybe Xbox potentially makes their own handheld, but they would be eating their own market then, right? Because if you now make an Xbox version of this 2 years from now, and ROG Ally has their next version that comes out, and now all of them can play all the different things. If they all can play Steam, if they all can play, GOG, if they can all play Battle.net, if they all can play, it's like, why do you pick this one over that one? It would come down to price.
Rather heavy, I could easily see myself holding this thing for a few hours. I think the promise of a new chip and larger battery is exciting from a performance perspective. I think the dashboard experience is really clean and intuitive, protecting you from the pain of having to interface with Windows 11 on a handheld. In particular, I think the adaptations that Xbox are making to Windows 11 are really nice, or at the very least, they make a lot of sense, and I don't think it's too big a leap to assume that these changes will result in at least some performance uplift. I also think this device comes at a really good time in the sense that the Steam Deck is definitely starting to show its age at this point. It still handles indie titles easily, but it's really struggling with most AAA releases these days, and even with AA releases like Clair Obscur, it's unlikely that AMD's new chip will deliver a generational leap in performance, but if it delivers just enough to catch us back up to the current demands of Unreal Engine 5 games, then that will be enough. Finally, there's no denying the convenience and flexibility of Xbox's Play Anywhere strategy. This device can play every game on Steam, including stuff like Destiny 2 and any other game unavailable on a Steam Deck. It can play your Game Pass games, and given how much value that service is delivering right now, that alone is a really compelling selling point.
Yeah.
It can play your free Epic games, your Ubisoft Plus games, your GOG games, your EA Origin games, everything. That is very attractive, and honestly, it's a problem that I think Valve are going to need to solve for if they want the Steam Deck to remain competitive into the longer term. Finally, I'll finish on this. The ROG Xbox Ally is, Microsoft's and Asus's
check it out
gaming
after this, Walter.
handheld. Sure, absolutely. But it's actually a lot more than that. When they revealed this thing, they didn't just show you this device, they showed you the software and user experience that will power their next generation of hardware. Because mark my words, the next Xbox will be built on the same foundations as this device. It will be a Windows 11 powered device that boots into the Xbox dashboard. It'll give you access to all of your games no matter where you've bought them. The next Xbox will be a PC in the same way that the Xbox Ally is a PC. Xbox's Play Anywhere strategy is now entering its next phase, and this device is actually the first salvo in the next generation console war. It's smart positioning, with Xbox betting the house on player choice and a device agnostic future, giving you the freedom to move seamlessly between devices. Nintendo and Sony are still fully leveraged into a strategy based on exclusives, and that strategy has served them well for 30 plus years, but does that strategy still work in an era of cloud streaming and subscription services and cross-platform purchases? The ROG Xbox Ally is the first piece of hardware that really forces us to confront that question, and I think it's a question we're going to be asking a lot over the next few years. Let me tell you about the most recent.
So if is this 3 minutes of Surfshark? Dear Lord! All right, let me get this over on the description for him, because we didn't put him in the description. Skill up. Take this. If you guys want to watch that video again, or go over there and give it a like. Let me show you how easy it is, guys. Let me show you how easy it is. See, you scroll down here, and you see this thumb button. You hit it. Hit that like button. All right, that's it. That's all you got to do. It's that simple. It's that simple. So if you do that over here, if you've been here for 2 hours, I don't know why you would still be here for 2 hours if you weren't liking the show. So make sure you hit that like button. All right, you said you put it in Discord? All right. So, Xbox ROG Ally release date and pricing is supposedly leaked. Oh boy. Oh boy. Let's see if I came close. All right, a new leak has reportedly revealed that the pre-order date and pricing of the Xbox ROG Ally, according to rumor, players will be able to order Microsoft handheld fairly soon. However, the new Asus Xbox console might be really expensive. Okay. Before we jump into the latest rumor, we take it with a big grain of salt. The leak comes from an Xbox insider whose track record is far from perfect. However, according to the YouTuber's June 3rd upload, the Xbox ROG Ally will go up faster in pre-order in August and the launch in October, increasing the XTATS 1's claims it was also being verified the information from 2 European retailers. Okay. The leak is true. The white Xbox ROG Ally will cost $5.99 in pounds, while the black ROG Ally will also $8.99 in Europe. Increasingly, the YouTuber claims that he heard that U.S. prices would be $4.99. All right, if that's true, I'm spot on, right? And $7.99, that's pretty close. I would have to go back. Didn't I say? I know I said the lower one would be $500. I said $450 to $500, right? And I said the other one would be above the Xbox Series X, which was $720. I said it would be $800, right? Obviously, take it with a grain of salt. Could be completely different, right? U.S. price would be $4.99 to $7.99 based on the current pricing. The Asus ROG Ally X would be $8.99. Okay, I find this a bit odd, although it's possible that Microsoft is trying to hit a border market with the device, so it's more competitive pricing, but it's pure speculation. I mean, again, I know this is not Xbox's device, but if the Xbox Series S is $450, the white version of this is $500, right? $500, $550. Then it's the Xbox Series X, which is $700, $720. Then the Xbox Series X, Ally X, whatever, would be $750 to $800. So, look, I know these things are expensive, but they got to get these prices down, man. They got to get these prices down. If you're paying more for a handheld device like this than an actual console itself, it's going to be a dark day in gaming when they stop making consoles and they only make handhelds and they are the consoles. You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to plug this into my television set and that's my console, right? I'll just go buy a PC. I'll just get a PC. I don't care about mobility. I get it's a very niche market as far as people that use it to travel, right? Jones said earlier, most people are playing this because their wife is on the television set. I just go buy a different television set, personally. But then you got to sit on the couch and be like, well, you're not hanging out with your family. Well, even if you're hanging out with your family, you're not interacting with them because you're on a fucking device, right? Or you're sitting on the toilet. I would rather have a console or a PC. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens in the future, in the next generation, if there's actually consoles or they're all just handhelds that look like consoles. I just said $7.99 and $9.99. All white sounds okay. If you're going to grab one, I'm getting the best one. Wasn't the ROG Ally 800 on the high end to begin with? The Specs 30, especially in the black, one is pretty good. This is why they're charging these premiums, because they can. It's convenience. Eclipse says, yeah, I agree. Whoever is doing the pricing should take a hit. If one can take a hit, Microsoft, give them money. Yeah. If they lower the price, if you lower this, if the white one comes out and it's $450, same price as the Switch, these will fly off the shelf. Okay? And then you take the black one and you lower to $600, fly off the shelf. Kraken says, I only use my handheld at home. See, I can't do that, Kraken. I can't. Like, I'm not sitting home with a 56-inch television set and playing on my 7-inch laptop or phone or my 12-inch laptop. I'm not doing it. Minimum screen to play on TV, 56. Minimum for computer, 27 inches. I'm not paying something expensive so I can play on a smaller screen. But that's me personally. Jason says there might be an announcement on the next gen Red Dead 2 this week, according to Arthur, voice actor. Oh, that'd be cool. Thomas says it's a brand new chip, not released on the market. Yet for the black one. Why are the goals timed now 30? They've always been timed. It's 3 hours, and I started at 9:30 before I go live. because it's 12:18 and we're done in like 12 minutes. What's wrong with her? Minimum screen size is on our age 40-something inches. That's right. You can switch rooms while you play or play in your other bed. Oh, is that what it is? You ever see that commercial, Titan? I forget. It was a couple years ago. It was when the World Cup was playing, and like the cable provider was like, "You don't need a cable anymore, and you can watch TV anywhere." Right? So the guy was like opening up his sock drawer. He had a television set there. Then he walked into the bathroom, opened the mirror, and the television set was there. He's like, you could take your TV set anywhere. So no matter where you went, he's watching the soccer game. That's what that reminded me of. Rogue says, playing on a smaller screen gives me a headache after about 10 minutes. Well, the problem also, I see this when I'm just scrolling through my phone and watching YouTube videos, right? You play a video game, you're looking straight, right? Like reading a teleprompter, right? You're watching the screen, you're looking at the screen. When you're playing on the couch on your handheld, you'll do this is it. This is your motion. That's it. You're looking straight down the entire time. Sorry. That's not conducive. What's going on first? Beats playing on the phone while I'm traveling? Sure. Key word there, though. When you're traveling. I'm not playing this thing at my house. Go on vacation? Sure. On a plane? Cool. Back of a car? Cool. Taxi ride? Something? Great. Very specific things. What's going on, Mr. Luke? I just seen the Stream Deck, ROG Ally in Cash Shop near me, selling before it's priced. Interesting. What's up, Chris? I'm not worried about the handhelds taking over the consoles. Outside of the Switch, they're still niche. I agree, Chris, but I'm just saying in the future, if this sells, right, and obviously if Switch 2 goes on and sells dramatically, right, it sells super well. Give me 1 second. Right. So if the Switch 2 goes on and sells the most ever, right? You don't think what is happening here? Oh my God. Hold on. I'm getting text messages left and right here from okay. So if the Switch sells really well, it's the best-selling mobile device, and then all of a sudden this comes out and this starts to sell, the industry will shift dramatically fast and say the next consoles are handheld devices, right? So I'm not saying like tomorrow, but in the future, that's what it would be. Because why would they make a console if they can make a handheld that's a handheld and a console and you just plug it into your television set? Altern says, do you think it would be smart of them to include a dock for the ROG Ally or ROG Xbox? Well, they wouldn't include it. They wouldn't include it, Altern. They want that extra money. Waterbear says, yeah, I really hate playing on small screens, especially at home. I have projectors, big screen TVs, monitors all around me. Yeah. Hey, if my wife is on the television set and I want to play a video game, I get up and walk to the other room with a television set. Now, I know someone's thinking, they're like, what about if you can't afford 2 television sets? Well, then you probably can't afford a ROG Ally, okay? Because a television set you can get for like $130, right? And then you get a $20 membership to an Xbox Game Pass, and you can have that Samsung TV or LG TV or a Fire Stick, and you can plug it into the back of that thing, and you can play your video games. So I don't think someone that's paying for a ROG Ally X is going to, I can't afford a second television set. Okay. PlayStation 7, Xbox Series times 3 will be a handheld. Who knows? graphics are hitting a ceiling, so they have to start over. So if the actual systems themselves are now handheld devices, then they can start improving on the battery life. They can start improving on the screen size. They can start improving on other things, and they just leave the graphics the same. Robert just said I have multiple TVs with a console and a PC. I spend more time on my handheld right now. But 30, I can't afford $150. I only have $800 to spend on a handheld. There you go. Jones, you gotta figure out something, man. You're paying for all these things, and you're like, I'm just gonna sit on my phone. The Hori switch pad. Is that how you say it? Hori switch pad grips for Switch were the game changer for me. My hands didn't hurt after playing it for a while. Let me look that up real fast. Oh, is that the thing that he had? Is it sort of like what he was using? Is there a side profile for this? Chris says, the thing about the Switch is that they force the console audience to become handheld gamers. Nintendo doesn't rely on current tech, but art style, so it didn't hurt their base to compromise power. Right. But that's what I'm saying. Right now, the graphics that you can get on the Steam Deck and stuff like that, they're still fantastic, right? And because the graphics can't get any, like, much better, they're increments of better. Now it's about frame rate and whatnot. They can start selling you the same type of stuff, but now for handhelds. Now think about that. They can resell it to you because of the frames, the graphics, the portability. For like when it's Steam Deck compatible, you know what I mean? People are like, oh, great. And they buy the game then. So there's way more things that they can sell, plus accessories, right? They have accessories for consoles as well. Like you get your controller holder or the airflow thing that you put your Xbox on. Lots more accessories for handhelds and stuff. Remember the Game Boy? And then they had the Game Boy Light, where you put the light on the Game Boy. Then you had the magnifier for the Game Boy. Then they had there was another thing that they had as well. Much more accessories that you can do for a handheld stuff. Is it convenient why all the controllers are much more expensive now across the board? Right? They're selling more controllers than consoles. For every console sold, they're selling like 3 to 4 controllers for the life cycle. Travis says, never forget they sold you cardboard. And Nintendo sold you cardboard. Chris also says the console players have higher expectations than Nintendo fans base. What kind of sales would Switch get if Nintendo had true home console? Well, here's the thing, Chris. We watched the video last week talking about how people said they can't stop buying stuff, okay? The video game market depends on people that just can't stop themselves from buying stuff, okay? So when you say that console players have higher expectations, sure, console players want to buy physical games, but then they can't anymore, so they stop making physical games. So you have to get digital games now, right? If the console gamers expect higher things, but the consoles or the developers of the consoles, Sony, Nintendo, Xbox, decide to change that and you're addicted to video games, which a lot of people are, then it wouldn't really matter because your expectations would drop just like the expectations drop for people now because games come out broke, buggy, unfinished, and people wave their hand, say, well, I'm having fun. Or, oh, well, it's still a good game. Oh, it'll be a better game 6 months down the road. That's the exact same mentality, right? Yes, we all have higher expectations, but a lot of people drop those expectations because of the convenience of playing the game that they want to play. Krebs says, I find it odd. It says 500 to 600, 800 to 900. But if you convert euros, it's 600. It should be 700, not 500. You don't always have to convert, Krebsy. Just like the Nintendo Switch sells, or the Nintendo Switch 2 sells cheaper over in China, right? So it could sell cheaper for many different reasons in different places. So it's not always a 600 here. So that means it would convert over here. It's saying that price in America, the rumor is that it would be about $500, 500 to 700. Roadkill says, this is why I'm switching hobbies. Boy's got my metal detector. We had a metal detector at one of these houses that we stayed at a bed, Airbnb, Roadkill. I used it, and I did find something. I didn't keep it, but it was fun finding stuff. Addicts, that's the word you're looking for, 30? Sure. I was just saying what the person said. I forget what they said in the video with the real fake wizard. They said they can't help themselves. It's not because they were addicted. What did they say? I forget the word they used, but they couldn't stop spending. They're like, I gotta spend my money. Handheld games, not sure how that became breakfast. Oh, when you wrote breakfast? 30, not too many real gamers worry about the handheld breakfast. Well, technically back in the day there was Nintendo breakfast, so you're not too far off, Travis. No, I know it's an addiction, but I forget the word they use though. All right, so that goes for the ROG Ally. That goes for Dune Awakening. We talked about Marathon. We talked about the Switch 2. We talked about Sony. Lots of different topics today. No, it wasn't Dark Urges. It'll come to me. My brain just hits a wall sometimes. Thanks, COVID. Sometimes it just hits a wall. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with the price of that thing. I'm telling you, if it comes out and they're super expensive, it's kind of pointless. Sure, you'll have 1 million sales, 1.5 million sales. People will buy it. Always, people will buy things, but the masses don't buy it, right? So obviously, if they price it well, if they price it $450, $500 mark for the white version, that thing will sell because they just spent that much money on the Switch 2. And that's just for Nintendo games. If you could get this thing down to the $450, $500 mark, and it could play Steam, Battle.net, EA, Ubisoft, Xbox, right? If it could play all of those things on that one device, it's well worth it. Yeah, it was one of those like that, Krebsy. It was like compulsive, impulsive. I forget what they said. They just couldn't stop. They couldn't help themselves. Can we still buy physical? And most of them have a full data on the disc, at least in PlayStation. Even if Xbox offers physical on PlayStation, we were not forced to be only digital. You are if you buy a PlayStation with no disc drive. You are if you have an Xbox with no disc drive. Right? Sure, you have a choice. now if you bought one with a disk drive. But if you don't, you only can buy digital. Majority of the people don't have a choice to buy, Chris, physical discs. They have to buy digital because they're in the ecosystem of the box they bought. Now, the people that have a disk drive, like myself, I have an Xbox Series X with a disk drive, okay? I cannot buy physical discs because Xbox has less and less games of physical discs with the actual game on it. They have a disc, you open up the box and it has a code, a barcode, or whatever else, and it's digital. They're not even offering a physical copy of Outer Worlds 2. So if I wanted to buy a physical copy of Outer Worlds 2, it would cost me $80, and it's still going to be digital. Again, my complaint is you can do stuff until they force you that you can't. And they're choosing right now to less and less make physical copies. Roku says, I got the Logitech G Cloud. It's the same exact thing as the new Xbox ROG. There you go. How much did that cost? Kraken says, couldn't people not play their physical games when the PlayStation Online went down? Or am I misremembering? No, you remember correctly. But it's also really physical when you also buy a disc and it only has like 10 megabytes of data on it. And at the point of the disc, it's also the extra step to play the game. Just so you have to put the disc in there every time you want to play it. Right. It's just a key. It's a key to the door. Right. If you bought a box and it came with a digital code, I'd feel scam. Yeah. Titan says, I remember disk drives were out of stock so long, even though PlayStation 5 Pro launch. But that's the thing, right? Titan, make the problem, sell the solution. I know you weren't watching me back then, but when they first came out with these consoles, the Xbox Series S and X, I said, watch what happens when the Xbox Series S comes out and they have more in stock of those than the Xbox Series X's. Because they want you to go, people are spontaneous. They go to the store to buy Xbox Series X. They don't have an X. They're like, well, there's the S. And they buy the S for its digital purpose, right? And they're like, oh, I bought it. Now they're stuck, right? And then they'll buy an X when it comes out later down the road. Craig Rowe Jr. says, boo-hoo, you PlayStation 5 crybabies are sad. Switch 2 is the future. Best Buy and GameStop are changing models to not sell media. Discs and carts are dead. $5 super chat. Appreciate you, Craig. Yeah, that's what's happening. My whole thing, Craig, is I've always said that people are like, I will always buy physical. I said, you will till you can't, right? You will till you can't. And when the organizations, the corporations come together and say, hey, we're working together. Look, it's not PlayStation versus Nintendo versus Xbox. It's Xbox, Sony, and PlayStation versus the consumers. And when they decide that they want to make more money, they go, well, how do we make more money? Well, what about if we force them to get digital? And you're like, well, how do they make more money on that? Well, they could charge more for that. And if you want physical, they could charge you more for physical. And they save money by not making the box and the instructions and the disc and everything else. And when they decide to do that, you're at their bay. You're at their will, I should say, right? Because you have no choice. Your choice is either buy it or don't buy it. Not, well, I'm going to buy it physical. I don't want to buy digital. No, you're not going to have physical anymore. Roadkill says, yeah, but Xbox only makes physical games for PlayStation now because that's the only place they sell games. I think that's why. They sell it for the people that have physical. But more people, didn't we just read an article like 2-3 weeks ago? 77, 71? It was in the 70s. Of PlayStation owners are digital. They're buying digital games. It was like 3/4 of all PlayStation owners are buying digital games. So even with the physical games that they're still selling for PlayStation, less and less people are buying physical goods. If that's because they don't have the box or they're because they can't get their hands on it. It's like you guys' argument about, well, you can still buy. Yeah, you can still buy records. You can still buy a record player. But are the masses buying records? Artists make CDs, digital songs, and they also make a vinyl record. How many sales do you think their vinyl records are getting over their digital sales? Akis says also your digital library is safe if you aren't an idiot. and you don't break TOS or whatever platform you're on. Jason says, sad state of gaming. Yeah, like, you look at it, and I haven't bought... I can't remember the last physical one I bought. I don't think... I don't think I have a physical disc in the last 5 years. I don't think I have a physical disc in the last 5 years for Xbox. Craig Rhodes says, one more thing. Mario Kart is worth $80. Nintendo games are more high quality and fleshed out. I bought Avowed. I have replayed more Nintendo games than the EA and Ubisoft slop they try to sell. $10 super chat. Appreciate you, Craig. I would say that Mario Kart is not worth $80, and here's why I think it's not worth $80, okay? Because they sell it for $50 at the bundle, meaning technically the game is worth $50, and they know they can get $80 because people like Mario Kart. Hence why my only thing against Nintendo right now is that their lineup at launch is very lackluster as far as first party goes. Usually, when Nintendo comes out with a new console, they have a couple of games that they're coming out with. I know, like, in July, Donkey Kong, whatever's coming out, and then down the road, another month or two, they have another one. But usually they have some sort of lineup at launch, like 3-4 games at launch, and then they have other ones come in. Appreciate the super chat. I went straight digital a long time ago. I have like over 400 games on PC. If you own a physical, I would not have room in my house. That's true with all the shelves and stuff. Last Sony money thing, I think it was like 80 to 90% of the gamers' sales, maybe Movie 2, were digital. Yeah, I remember having an article a couple weeks ago we read, and it was somewhere in the 70s. It was like the mid 70s, high 70s that majority of the people on PlayStation were buying digital goods. Where's your coaster game? Oh, you're talking about Battleborn. That's from the Xbox. That's Xbox One though. That's back in the Xbox One though, Dolphin. You bought Borderlands 3 physical? No, I didn't own Borderlands 3. We played it on Game Pass. Chris says only the few, maybe 10%, choose to be all digital with PlayStation 5. Most PlayStation 5 discs and all new PlayStation 5s can add a disc drive. Stop it, Chris. People are not going to buy extended. They're not going to buy a separate disc drive. Majority of people are not buying an extended disc drive. They're not. It's there for people, which is the smaller portion that want to buy the disc drive. Force means no option. I don't care how many are buying physical as long as I can buy the games I want physically. You'll have less than a year. Hey, they will go all digital because it's more money to them. I'll take that back. You got less than 3 years. Collector's edition with no disc is the biggest travesty. Yes. Yeah, because now you're buying like the statue or whatever else, but the game it's not. Let's see here. No, that's not saying that. That's how many people are on PlayStation. That's with PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, 124 million monthly active users. Yeah. Digital Retro, the full game software sales on PlayStation platforms reached 70% of their full year digital sales accounted. Yeah. PlayStation 97 monthly active users. Yeah, it's not that people want to buy the digital. Is that it's more convenient and they're being pushed towards getting the digital because they don't want to wait for the shipping from like Amazon on day one, right? They're forcing it. Sure, there's an option for you to purchase, but less and less people are doing it. And because less and less people are doing it, that incentivizes the companies not to make physical goods. The whole point is if you buy digital, you're never getting any of your money back ever physically. You can sell it and get some money back. Correct. And that's why GameStop is changing their whole physical model of their business, because there's not enough people selling games, of newer games. That's why they're going to retro games, and that's why they're selling fucking Pokemon cards and grading cards now, because their business model is obsolete in the next couple years for brand new games. The next iteration of whatever the consoles are could be all digital. So you'll never ever to be able to sell any of your stuff. Then Nintendo and their game card key, or whatever they're called. Yeah, that's gonna be interesting to see. That's gonna be interesting to see. People that sell the digital games on the cards, or loan it to their friends. Right, Argus. It's convenient, but it's also inconvenient when something happens that's inconvenient. Right? If the servers are down, I can still play a game if it's on a disc. For single-player games. If it's a single-player game and it needs a server for some reason, I can't play the game because the servers are down. Right? Nintendo, right now, right, won't let you, unless you have internet connectivity, to play your games that you already own that don't need internet connectivity. I think the launch versions will have a disk drive and then phase them out the next models. Yeah, there's an option there. But then when the people look at it and say, so if I pay, I don't know, let's say it's $500 for a console, but now it's $600 with the disk drive. You're like, do I really want to buy the disk drive? Because there's going to be less and less games out there for a disk drive. Bet PlayStation won't have this problem. PlayStation 6 will have digital. Xbox is seen as a leader to the follow somehow when they also constantly pivoting because their strategies fail. Okay, wait. Bet PlayStation won't have this problem, and PlayStation 6 will have digital. Xbox is seen as the leader to follow somehow. I don't remember ever saying that they were the ones to follow. I said the industry. I never said Xbox. Nowhere did I say Xbox is the one to follow. What I said was that when the industry, when PlayStation, Nintendo, and Xbox decide that they don't want physical games anymore, that's when they don't have physical games anymore. Optional disk drive will be offered at minimum for because the optional physical, even if it's limited. Sure. But when it costs them a lot of money to make and less people buy the physical thing, they will stop making it. That's how business works. Then you will get third-party guys that make the disk drives and stuff because that'll open up a new business for them. It won't be profitable for Sony, so they'll have a third-party site that does it where you get limited run games. Limited run games makes physical copies of games. That's how they make money. They charge a little premium price for their physical games. They're forcing you to go digital. This is the game plan of no choice. That's my point, Sarge. Like, you can literally see it if you go to Best Buy, Target, Walmart. You go to the sections, and there's less and less video games each time a new game comes out. There's less games in that category or down that aisle. And even when you buy the physical, it's not physical. It's a code. Your thing is, Chris, you're sitting here like you're holding the flag for PlayStation. I'm not holding a flag for anybody. I'm telling you where the industry is going, and you're like, PlayStation won't be doing this. Okay. Aku says, I have a lot of limited runs and highly recommend. $2 super chat. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm not holding any flag. I'm talking about the industry. I've said when the industry decides they want to change from physical to digital, that's what they'll do. When they decide they don't want to make consoles anymore and they want to go all handheld, whatever, because that's the reason, that's what they'll do. Has nothing to do with what you want to buy or not buy. They're like, this is what's happening. They'll adjust. All right, it's 12:45. We're about 15 minutes over, 18 minutes over what I usually do. PlayStation's already doing this. Why else would they also push digital console and charge extra if they want disk drives? Exactly, Kraken. Because the industry says, well, we have less people buying physical copies. We don't want to make this anymore, but we'll have it as an option because there's still people out there. But we have to condition people to go digital. And that's what they're going to do. All right, I appreciate it. We are done for the day. We'll be back tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, for more gameplay over on 30 and Still Gaming. Appreciate it very much. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. We do this Monday through Thursday. Tomorrow, I don't know if I'm going to have a show in the morning because I have workers coming over tomorrow. Hopefully the last time they have to fix the problem with our air conditioning unit. So they might be here while I'm streaming. If they are, I might go live at 10. I might have to go a little bit later, or they might, and I have to stop early. Don't know yet, because you know that time window they give you of, well, we're coming anywhere between 10 and 5. So we'll see what happens when it happens. Yeah, the where the bobber is, Altern, where the water comes in, it's not angled correctly, so it's filling up in that spot, and it shuts off the air AC unit for a safety mechanism. Before it gets to the actual pipe where it's supposed to drain. So that's the problem. So they have to fix that. And they didn't know what the problem was, and they tried to fix it last time, still didn't fix it, and now they're coming back, hopefully, to fix it. So, all right, I'll see you guys tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern. You guys have a great rest of your day, evening, or afternoon, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Sunshine, rise and shine. The daily grind is here on time with gaming news and fun galore. We'll chat and entertain once more. The coffee's hot, the mic is on. Jump in the chat, let's have some fun. From pixels small to stories grand, we bring the magic to your hand. We're nitty Dune and daily, don't you miss entertainment wrapped in bliss. From new releases, tips and tricks, the daily grind, your morning fix. Controller ready, headset too, we've got the updates just for you. From late night streams to morning plays, we cover gaming all the ways. Controller ready, headset too, we've got the updates just for you. From late night streams to morning plays, we cover gaming all the ways. Laughs and news, our winning blend, the show with you, our dearest friend. Comments rolling, chats alive, the daily grind, 5-star vibe. Tune in daily, don't you miss entertainment wrapped in bliss. From new releases, tips and tricks, the daily grind, your morning fix. Good morning, sunshine, rise and shine. The daily grind is here on time with gaming news and fun galore. We'll chat and entertain once more. The coffee's hot, the mic is on. Jump in the chat, let's have some fun. From pixels small to stories grand, we bring the magic to your hand. a new